All right, screw it. I've never been a very patient guy, so why wait? Why wait? We can get right to things. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Blunt Politics. I'm Boston. Brian, I appreciate you joining me. It's April 30th. You made it through the day, so congratulations on that one. Pat yourselves on the back. You didn't break anything. Well, maybe you did. Hopefully you didn't, though. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I don't know what you're waiting for. You really should. Other people are. Everybody's doing it. You're just the only one that hasn't. I've actually downloaded some new software that tells me exactly who likes and who doesn't like and who subscribes and who doesn't subscribe. And it gives me a big alert, tells me your name and gives me all the info that I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It does none of that. I'm joking. But you should like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Hello, Sparklers. Hello, Lobsters. How's everybody doing? What's going on? Hi, Jacques. How are you? Hi, Robin. Hi, Miles. Hi, Denise. Hi, Suncats. How are you? What's up, Julie, Penny, Bo? Ghost, Cosmic Rose, how's everybody doing? What's going on? Dave, Yeetie, how are you? Amy, let's go. Appreciate it. Hit the like on the way in. It's a Motang Wednesday, I guess. Motang Wednesday. But we got a great show for you tonight. We got the one and only, the legendary HAL SPARKS joining us, ladies and gentlemen. And then we should be taking a look at what was an absolute shit show of an interview by Donald Trump. I apologize if it was covered by the man, the master, the myth, the legend himself, HAL SPARKS, in his show tonight. There's been a million things going on here, so unfortunately I was not able to tune in. But, without further ado, how about we bring in the man, the myth, the legend? I'm going to see if I can do this while getting the first right button correct.
Look at that. Yes. I did it perfectly.
Let me just change the background and we'll be all right.
You're a master. You're already a master.
I didn't know about that. How'd your show go, buddy?
Oh, hello there. It was great. I did cover the ABC interview, but I feel like there's enough stupid to go around, and your take on it will be very much a Boston Brian take and will be valuable. I'm just saying, I'm not sucking up. I'm just saying we're all four blind men trying to describe an elephant by, all being near its ass all the time.
It's more like a hippo, I feel like, when they swing their tail around and fling it everywhere. You know what I mean?
I feel like we're both standing there going, this doesn't feel like an elephant at all. It's just a giant fucking ass, and there's just shit coming out of it.
Did they put out the full interview yet, or did you have to watch it in clips?
Yes. No, they put the whole thing out. Yeah, it's available. Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, I'll hold on. I'll send you the goddamn link because
I appreciate it, dude. Because I was looking this morning and they would just kind of, as they do, put out random little clips of it before they throw out the whole thing there. But I mean, just the clips, just from what I saw, the clips that I saw was one of the more entertaining ones.
He's still the nuttiest part, and I'm sure you've seen this. The nuttiest part is that he's convinced that the MS-13 that his people photoshopped to explain the tattoos were really on the guy's knuckles, and that like this guy managed to have like a perfect Arial bold typeface. He's got these like sketchy fucking skull and cross.
He does his tattoos on Canva, Al.
That's right, totally. He got a stencil at Michael's.
Oh no! I mean, it is pretty ridiculous. But I mean, also the news with Ukraine and the U.S. signing the
Mhm.
minerals agreement. I was looking for the actual text of the agreement because I'm looking for what guarantees. But the article that I read in the Post said that they were still, going over some of the technicalities. Still
Yeah.
ironing out some of the
Trump
technicalities.
wanted to
Which
announce it. That's all it has
right,
to like. Look,
right,
this is just like the fucking stuff with Biden during in 2020 where he wanted he was trying to get whatever Zelensky and his like I guess is effectively his AG to announce this that they had obviously I don't know they were doing an investigation. They wanted to launch
yeah.
the investigation. There's
It was
enough
the Sandlot effect. It was the you stick your glove up, I'll do the rest. All you got to do is stick it out there that there's going to be some sort of investigation, in some way that the Bidens are going to be looked at, and we'll handle it from there. Rudy Giuliani will
Same thing.
hand out all the information and stuff. Right.
They're doing the same thing with all these deals, with all these bullshit deals. Because that's what they're doing as well. Like, oh, dude, so many deals. Everybody's talking. The phones are ringing off the fucking hook. Oh, and
dude, it's tough when you're dealing with 347 countries. Hell,
it's true. Absolutely. I had not realized we had colonized Mars and were in a terraform.
The penguins are lined up around the White House trying to get their deals done.
Look, aquatic seabirds. These flightless motherfuckers are tough negotiators, my friend. They're adorable, but they lure you in, and then you forget they've got sharp beaks, and then by the next thing you know, you're pecked to death.
But I mean, it's crazy how the Steve Bannon effect is in full effect. Like the whole hit him with as much as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, as quick as you possibly can. That way, inevitably, no matter how hard you swat, no matter how many people they are swatting, some of it will filter through. It's the same thing with like the court cases and the judges. Like, yes, are judges doing their absolute best to try to contain, this monstrous machine of authoritarianism? Yes, they are. But inevitably, there are going to be some cases and some judges that are going to let what he wants to do slip through the cracks, and that's the damage is going to slowly take effect over the 4 years. Little things slip through the cracks here and there, and by the time 4 years is up, who knows where we're going to be. Right. But obviously, the reason I had you on last night, you got into a heated what should I call it? I call it a rant, but it wasn't really a rant. I mean, but. There's been, I want to start off by saying, I think we are both really on the same side of this coin, to tell you the truth. It's just a few aspects of, I don't know, I think basically how to talk about, or the words we should use as far as talking about the whole Israel, Gaza, Palestine conflict. I feel like we've had this conversation before. I think I actually popped on your show. It might have been even a year or two ago before, and we had a similar conversation. I think my thing was, you were given this whole like, okay, the bombs dropped to death toll ratio type of thing. And my argument, I guess, to that was just, that's not how like a genocide is calculated. Like definitionally, that's not how you calculate what a genocide is. There's specific check marks. Right. You know what I mean?
But the primary one is the goal. A genocide there's no such thing as an accidental genocide in terms of the International Criminal Court or the UN or international law, right? So the idea is that your goal is to eliminate a people, ethnically, politically, or personally. You're trying to wipe out all those people, eliminate them from Earth, not just ethnic cleansing, not get them to move, kill them all. That's the purpose of a genocide. And what I'm saying is whether it's because the world and the United States are looking over Israel's shoulder, or they've been held back by it, or they don't actually want to do it, that's up to everybody to make their own decision, that it's not a genocide. It doesn't match all that. And splitting hairs about whether it's a genocide or not misses the point that Donald Trump is allowing Netanyahu to ethnically cleanse Gaza once and for all, and Biden and Harris wouldn't have allowed it.
I mean, I guess my return to that would be, it's been said by not only Israeli state officials, but ambassadors they have throughout the globe that their intentions are to actually wipe out the Palestinian people, whether by hook or by crook, whether it's to kill them all, whether it's to destroy their ability to have homes, running water or food, get into the area, whatever way they can to get these people either eradicated or, like you said, moved wherever they can be put.
Right.
Just out of the sight of the Israelis, so they can go in there and take their land.
By that standard, the Iraq War was a genocide because there were people in our government and around that were saying, bomb it till the sand glows, destroy everybody, bomb it back to the Stone Age, bomb it, turn the sand to glass. There were a dozen or so relatively high-ranking people who either thought that, believed that, or talked about that in the government under George W. Bush, but it was not the policy of the people or even the Bush government, even to the worst that they did. It doesn't lessen what they did as far as awful. It's categorically uninvolved with how awful they were. So I would argue that Abu Ghraib is awful in a standard all its own. You don't have to present that because fucking Kissinger thinks the Iraqis are useless eaters, and he was whispering in Rumsfeld's ear at one point that meant that the policy of the U.S. government was the genocide of Iraqis. Does that make sense?
But I don't think it's so much what the policy states, but what the actual reality on the ground is and what it's doing to the people of that country. I mean, when you go down the list, I would even say that there's arguments to be made that you're absolutely right, that the United States was possibly engaged in a genocide. If you go down the list of killing members of a group, causing serious bodily or mentally harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, which Israel is absolutely doing now. They've come out and said it. They're withholding aid on purpose to starve the Palestinian people, to make Hamas force them to give up the rest of the hostage, which is punishing the entire citizenry for the actions of Hamas, which is it's a war crime. You cannot collectively punish an entire country or people because of the actions of their government. D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. I'd say E is about all we're missing out of these categories here. So, whether it's like an attempted genocide, maybe it's a failed genocide. I also think there's an aspect.
Okay, so an acute war is different, though. An acute war is different because all of those standards that you're talking about, you could say that of the Allies versus the Germans during the height of World War II, because we bombed the living fuck out of them. The chances anybody's getting it on and able to have a baby and raise it in that circumstance while, we're bombing Dresden and other places like that would qualify as an attempted elimination of the German people from the face of the earth. But it wasn't. It was still just a war with Germany. And the German people had elected the German government that had invaded Poland and declared war on the rest of the world in that regard. And in the same way that the Palestinians in Gaza particularly elected Hamas, and Hamas declared a war till the end with Israel. And then on October 7th, started what they thought was apparently a cascading war, like circle war between them, the Houthis choking the shipping through there, and Hezbollah attacking from the north. The idea was that there was going to be this three-pronged Iranian attack, which never really had a chance to get off its feet because Hamas was all in, but the Hezbollah guys were slow to react, and the Houthis they were playing three anyway, so they wouldn't have started working until the other two would absolutely work. So Hamas declared war on Israel and has ever since. Ever since the election of Hamas, which again, they were elected. Now, they never had another election. The Palestinians in Gaza, the Gazans particularly, never had a chance to elect anybody.
Nor do we know how much influence the Palestinian people actually had in that election, though.
Well, all right.
Right. I mean, if we're talking, if they're all controlling, right? I mean, we're supposed to believe that Hamas is all controlling these people, that they're starving them into following them.
You had Hamas, you had Islamic State there, you had like a couple of other IRGC-backed groups that were in there amongst that. And then you had the PA's group that was effectively the previous governance. Those people were all fucking shot and pushed out of windows and killed right after the election. Even though it was an election the opposing party, all those people were rounded up and murdered by Hamas within days of the election. And the issue about do I think the average Palestinian in Gaza is supportive of the awful that they did? No. But were there enough of them when they brought back the hostages and dead bodies cheering them as they went down the street to think that this wasn't it's not unpopular at that point until the retribution, until the attacks came from Israel? They were all for this.
And on the flip side of that, I could pull up, I mean, several hundred videos right off the bat of Israelis, members of the IDF, actively calling for the elimination of the Palestinian people. You know what I mean? I mean, not only that, but going back to World War II, we were absolutely accused of war crimes. We were the American public and the people of the world were absolutely outraged at the bombing of Dresden, the firebombing of Tokyo. Right. I mean, we were called out for that. We weren't. It wasn't just, OK, we're fighting because we're fighting the Japanese or we're fighting the Germans that it's all forgiven. No, you know what I mean? We were called out for that. And it was, you know what I mean? Nobody may have paid the price or gone to court for it. But it definitely at the time was seen was frowned upon, and it even changed the way that they went about their actions going forward, so to speak. You know what I mean?
That's a good and that's a good point. And I think that's again why leadership matters and who's in charge. And this was my argument overall, was that this all stemmed from uncommitted and the alleged Arabs for Trump, who later changed their name to Arabs for Peace, saying that they thought Trump would be better for the people of Gaza, the Palestinians there, than Biden and Harris were. And we're all happy to fucking walk around with Genocide Joe signs, using genocide as the language of war, the weapon, the marketing term to create an illusion that Joe Biden was complicit in genocide, and that by deference, Trump would somehow be better.
Now, do you think that's where your hesitance to use the word genocide comes from, because of the negative connotation it was given to Biden? And I just want to say, like, I have never, I'm kind of like, an amalgamation to this whole thing, because I've never once called him Genocide Joe. I feel like I've rightly criticized him where I feel like he should be rightly criticized, and I have the ability to rightly criticize him. I would have voted for him. I did vote for Kamala Harris. I absolutely knew that Donald Trump would be far worse in this situation than anybody the Democrats could even fucking possibly put forward, regardless of who the candidate was. You know what I mean? So all that being said, is there, because there's been UN special rapporteurs that have done in-depth studies, 3 or 4 different studies at this point, several different human rights groups, Amnesty International, all have come out to say this is a genocide. It is that's and just definitionally what it is. And I think we would be better suited if we called it what it was, and we were, because I feel like I put up my right hand, and I'll speak for myself. I was not as hard on Israel during the lead up to the election that I feel I should have been, I feel like I should have been much more vocal about what was going on, and I put my hand up in the air that I didn't, and you know what I mean? Like I said, I'll speak for myself on that one. But
okay, one of the primary things I have is that, if you'll remember, Harris did not have a private meeting with Netanyahu. She met with him, but in front of the cameras, but did not have a separate meeting with him, and was not obviously happy to meet with him at all, but did it because it's Israel and he's a representative of those people. So you meet him as his representative, but you don't meet him because you think he's a good guy or whatever. But she met him in public in that room, in the same way that Biden had apparently hung up on him and told him to go fuck himself. And both of them were dealing with the fact that he had already had this meeting with Trump, and they were like, dude, if I'm in, you help me win this, and I'm just going to fucking take the leash off. If you want to see anything close to genocide, you get Trump in there. That's the way this shit goes. And ever since then, he's been talking about get these fucking people out, pretending to care about them. I don't think he actually.
Oh, I'm with you, dude. Absolutely. Yeah.
And the idea is that, they're once you talk about where they would go, whether it's to Lebanon or whether it's to Egypt or whether Saudi Arabia sets up camps for them or some shit like that, the idea that these other countries want them at all is rife with the secondary political nature of Sunni versus Shia and tribal strength power plays all throughout there. Again, the Palestinians that are in West Bank have more rights than the Palestinians in refugee camps in Jordan. Period. Like, they have more rights to move around, get jobs, and do stuff. Palestinians before October 7th in Gaza had more rights to come in and out of Israel than they had to go in and out of Egypt.
Yeah, I mean, none of this excuses any of the other bordering states to the
But it does.
Palestinian
But,
people
okay,
for not helping them. But I mean, I guess
but
just
if you
going
were
back
saying,
to go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that if you're talking about like Auschwitz and Poland and the like, if Poland hadn't been forced into, if the Germans hadn't taken territory and had just rented area from them for Auschwitz, our feeling about the Polish people that had been, during World War II would be very different. Egypt is not being forced at gunpoint to hold this line harder than the Israelis held the line inside Israel. This is their choice, and it has everything to do with their fear of the IRGC, their relationship with Iran and fear of Iran's proxies coming in and fucking them up. And so they created a border there that was, there was one tunnel that went in and out of that area for Yahweh Sinwar and his crowd if they wanted to fuck off to like Amman or to Qatar, but the average Palestinian couldn't go in, just like the rest of the tunnels. And again, Hamas built tunnels, spent fucking 15 years, 20 years digging tunnels under the entirety of this area, under Gaza, under hospitals, under schools, under mosques.
Where are the photos and videos of these huge subterranean layers? I mean, I've yet
on any of the Telegram channels that, like, literally Hamas's Telegram channels or Israel's Telegram channels. You can see.
Well, it's going to be Israel's Telegram channels for sure, but it seems like every time an independent journalist goes in there to confirm anything that the IDF or Israel puts out, it seems that it's collapsed now. Oh, the hole's closed. You can no longer get in there to see it, type thing, right? So, I mean, obviously Israel has a propaganda aspect to this, just like Hamas has a propaganda war they're trying to win as far as this goes. And so far, we've seen a ton of people. I mean, how many people? There's been 160 something journalists alone be killed in there. And I think that's what goes to the other aspect of the conversation of the indiscriminate bombing.
One thing, though. Yeah, no, okay. Again, I would argue discriminate bombing, but too much, not indiscriminate bombing. Because if you had indiscriminate bombing in an area that is densely populated as that place is, you would kill a lot more people.
Indiscriminate bombing is a level. There's levels to it. There's indiscriminate bombing as low as throwing a hand grenade over a fence that you can't fucking see who's on the other side because you don't know who it's. And there's all the way up to dumb bombs, where if it's not GPS guided, when it's not locked onto a specific target, cannot guarantee to a high degree that is not going to take out people within a certain area of the place that you're actually trying to hit. That is indiscriminate. That will indiscriminately take out people. It is a scale. It is not a singular aspect. Indiscriminate bombing is not one thing that you can point to and say that is indiscriminate bombing. It's a scale to say, okay.
I know. I understand what you're saying, but let me try to explain where I'm coming from, and because I think these things matter. And what happens is when we discuss these things, and it verges anywhere in the air of the worst hyperbole and turns the Jews into the new Nazis and that kind of stuff, which is what this language of genocide tends to do. And again, none of this pops up when we're talking about fucking Sudan. No, none of it pops up when we're talking about what's happening in South Sudan or Darfur right now, which drives me crazy. Same thing with Ukraine and Russia. This idea that the Ukrainians are Nazis and what Russia's doing is denazification. You and I both know that language is manipulative and bullshit as well. And their use of it doesn't just bastardize the word, but it waters down its meaning so that when it actually is happening specifically in certain areas, people are like, that whole area is full of that shit. And they just ignore it. They start to glaze over at the idea. The word genocide hardly means anything anymore to a lot of people when they listen to the news.
There's a specific definition of it. The way it's being used is not the problem of the definition, though. If you go by it definitionally, and you know what I mean?
The definition, it still doesn't work. And this goes to the indiscriminate bombing. So I would argue by your definition, all the rockets Hamas flies out of Gaza, every single one of them, indiscriminate bombing. None of them are guided. None of them are aimed. They have been going on for years.
Correct.
Like unabated.
Correct.
With very little return fire, if any, literally compared to Trump says we had no war.
Comparatively, well, I mean, because if we're talking very little return fire, that's just, I mean, you and I both have said on our shows, and we know that during Trump's presidency, they were lobbing rockets at each other weekly. You know what I mean?
Well, I would argue, though, if you look at the timing of it, Hamas was sending at least 2 times a week. They were sending, masses of bombs, 12 to 15 bombs on the regular, twice a week, his entire presidency. The responses from the Israelis varied to nothing at all. The dome got it, so we'll just wag a finger to actual incursion or firing back. But the point I'm trying to make is that those are all indiscriminate. We can agree. They are all indiscriminate. Yes, all the bombs coming out of Gaza. And I'm just trying to establish something here so we know that I'm not just being like, I'm not trying to apologize on behalf of the fucking Yakut and the fucking and Netanyahu. That's not my purpose here. And I need people to understand where I'm coming from. So that
nor am I trying to defend the actions of Hamas on October 7th or before, just to make that clear too.
And I talked about this yesterday, but my belief has always been in a 2-state solution. The Palestinians deserve a state of their own, dignity to be able to have their own elections, safety, they can do business, they can trade with other countries, that kind of stuff. I've always believed in that. But in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's mind, what a Palestinian state meant was largely it would be the Palestinian people. But if other people moved there like they do any other country, they could live there, I suppose. And there would be no restrictions, for example, on being Jewish. The idea that since Hamas took over, the 2-state solution from their point of view became no Jews allowed. No Jews in Gaza, no Jews, not Israelis. And we both know there are sympathetic Jews all over the place that are arguably more sympathetic to the Palestinians than they are to the Israeli state in the United States and in Europe. No fucking question. They would not be welcome in Gaza or the West Bank simply because they are Jewish. 0 Jews in the 2-state solution. So what you ultimately have is the creation of 1/2, depending on if you view Gaza and the West Bank as 2 states or 1 on their own, but let's assume they're 1 with a connector somehow, where there are no Jews allowed. That is not the rule in Israel. Arabs can serve in the judiciary. They can serve as police officers. They can have jobs. They can live. They can worship as Muslims. That is not the limit. But in the Palestinian territories, as they stand under Hamas going forward, and this is what the Palestinians in Gaza specifically voted for. West Bank's a different situation because, again, Transjordan and Judea, Samaria, that whole thing is a totally different conversation. Jordan's been a much more stable environment than even Egypt has for the last 50 years. So the people are kind of different. They're not the same mentality of Palestinians. You could say like gentrified is the West Bank and Gaza is kind of the Revolutionary Guard of it. But they, during that time, what it meant to post-election of Hamas, the Palestinian state meant 0 Jews. And when in 2005, when the Jews left, they had occupied part of Gaza, if you'll recall, they left. All Jews left the Gaza Strip in 2005, and they took their dead with them. They dug up all the dead Jews in Gaza and moved their corpses, moved their tombs out of the area. 1, so they wouldn't be desecrated, but 2, because they totally gave the land to the Gazans, to the Palestinian Gazans. Right? And from that point forward, the policy of Hamas has been the eradication of Israel, death to the Jewish people, and the elimination of a state and a people. So a declared genocide by Hamas on Israel. Now, the question is whether they had the ability to act on it, whether people feel it's justified, is immaterial to the idea. None of us believe that if America felt attacked on 9/11, we were like, no Muslims should be able to live in the world.
But would also be well served to recognize the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu himself has come up and said from the river to the sea, meaning no Palestinians in the same area. You know what I mean? Not only that, but me and you can talk about a 2-state solution till we're blue in the fucking face, my dude. That is not what the Israeli leadership is saying. That is not what Netanyahu is saying. That is not what the Israeli ambassadors are talking about having happen. It's just not what it is. So at this point, neither side. And again, I don't have an argument with you on this whole on the whole thing. I really don't. My whole thing was just like, the indiscriminate bombing one, and the term genocide, that, like I said, many people have a lot more educated than I am, that work for the UN, that do reports, that have seen much more data, intel, photos, that know the history of these people in depth, that have come out and said, yes, this is a genocide. Whether it's being completed to its fullest limit, no. But like I said before, I also think there's a limit in 2025 that Israel knows that they can only go so far. Before the public snaps, before the people snap.
I think in 2024 they felt that way. But when Donald Trump came into office, they felt like they've got room. By the time the rest of the world gets on its feet to deal with this, it'll be fucking over. And that's what they've been hoping for. They're hoping that either through the complicity or the support of Donald Trump and his administration and everybody else being tied up in the Ukraine, Russia stuff, or even, the UN focusing on Sudan at some point, that if anybody blinks, they're going to Trump's going to go, move them all out, get them the fuck out of here, run some soldiers in there and just push everybody south into Egypt and fuck Egypt if they don't like it. Like, that's my concern. And my concern is that all the talk around Genocide Joe and all the talk around the support of what they were doing at the time, which was, not even as bad as it is under Trump, and as it will be worse under Trump. Is a genocide possible? Absolutely. But it's possible.
But I think you're talking about a genocide like it's been completed and like all the people are wiped out. That is not, like, that's how we think about a genocide in our minds. Like we bring it back to the Holocaust and people getting put in ovens and shit like that. But that is not definitionally what a genocide is. That's just not what it is. And listen, like I said, I've never been the Genocide Joe guy. I think he should have done a lot more.
It's an insurrection. I would say it's a failed insurrection. We've talked about this before, but like, people go like, Jan 6 was not an insurrection. I would I agree. It was a failed.
And then it would be like me saying, "Whoa, well, look at all the weapons and the knives and the guns that were brought to January 6th. Only 4 or 5 police officers died." Right? That would be like I would relate that to you saying, look, they've dropped this many bombs. How have this many people died? Well, that's because they're shuffling the entire population from one side to the other, telling them, okay, you go on this side, you'll be safe here. And then we're just going to bomb this side. And then when that happens, oh, fuck that, we lied. We're going to bomb this side. Now you're going to move back to the other fucking side. And when this first started, they were giving the Palestinians quadrants. They were giving them little squares in their fucking villages that there were supposed to be little safe spots that they could go to. This is where it's going to be bombed, and fucking you go to this safe spot. Guess what? The safe spots were being fucking taken out. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can go back and forth. Indiscriminate bombing and the word genocide is basically all I kind of had on that.
If Hamas is hiding behind those people and marshaling,
gives you absolutely no right. The IDF is supposed to be the most fucking advanced fighting force on the face of this planet. They were supposed to have technology so good they wouldn't have to take out an extra civilian trying to get their enemy, right? You're telling me that this is the best way they were to go about doing what they were supposed to do, eradicating Hamas, when it seems like they've only gained more Hamas members since this thing started. They've only breeded more Hamas members by killing family members, by killing men, women, children by the fucking thousands. I mean, I know we're talking about, a body count being what they reported 52, but there's absolutely no fucking way right now we even know remotely close to how many people are buried under the rubble, how many people have actually been killed. Not only that, but if you take that number and then you talk about how many people have been grievously wounded, I mean, that number you could times that by 5, 6, or 7 easily. Just and like we always say, it's mostly women and children living in these areas. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Those are very good points and emotional points. And here's how I will push back on them. The reason I bring up the ratio of bombs dropped to dead and the density of the population is specific evidence that the goal is not to indiscriminately kill a bunch of people and that they are being careful, or the number accidentally would easily be 3 to 5 times that. With the density of population and
if the people weren't moved around, Hal. If they weren't moved, if they just stayed put and they were in this densely populated area and weren't moved around and shuffled around by Israel, yes, it would be a lot more.
To move them. Right. So what? Again, if you're trying to genocide,
because they won't get away with that. Like, that's what I'm saying. In the year, whatever year you want to use, 2024 or 2025, they want to do that, but they know they cannot get away with that and have the fucking people of the public endorse it. They know they have this fine line to walk, and if they tell people, listen, we're gonna move them over here, we're dropping fucking leaflets, which with no Nobody in the history of war thinks leaflets have worked ever. It doesn't make people move. People don't jump for their suitcases when leaflets come flying down saying anything. It's never happened.
Well,
We tried it. Everybody's tried it.
No, I know that, but okay. So, good point. But I would the way I'll push back on this is one is maybe we have to figure out if we agree on Hamas's death toll numbers and the fact that they are any of those people enemy combatants. Is that number real? And are those just all women and children, as we've been told, and innocent civilians? Or are there any enemy combatants? And at that number, and again, this is not excusing the death of women and children. This is war, and it's terrifying. It's the same thing of like, if you look at
no, and I don't think you are by any means. I want to make that damn clear. I don't. Like I said,
I'm trying to point out that if you were trying to genocide a people, you wouldn't move them around, even if you thought you could. You didn't have. You could get away with it. And secondly, you could be loosely more indiscriminate, and your death toll, because of the density of the population and where they are, would be 3 to 5 times higher than it is now.
And they are. They are, hell. There are many reports in Haaretz, which is an Israeli newspaper, that have come out to talk about the absolutely genocidal tactics and the barbarity going on throughout the IDF in their own country. I mean, this is an Israeli newspaper saying, listen, the IDF is out of control, I believe was one of their headlines. And it listed several goddamn reasons as to why the IDF was just going out and butchering people. I mean, just think about them shooting their own hostages coming out. I mean, there's so many different stories and videos that you play of just Palestinian kids getting shot at for this reason or that reason. You know what I mean? Okay, or how about the go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I get too fired up.
Reason, and this is why it's important, because we deal with this with cop violence and all kinds of stuff like that anecdotally and individually or group, subgroups, we can, there are terrible groups within it, better groups. Look at the youth pastors that fuck kids. Does that mean that in general Christianity is, that's what priests and guys do because there were these pedophiles over here? Like, that's going to happen. And that doesn't rule out the wrong of that person, but it doesn't taint the rest of them automatically. Okay, there's not guilt by association not being part of that. Okay, and plus fog of war, Vietnam, revenge killings, all that kind of stuff. It happened blocks away. Again, it's hard to even picture if you were related to somebody in Bucha or one of the girls that was dragged from that music festival, how you would react in those situations, how quick to fire or how angry you would be. And we've seen this in war everywhere. I mean, you could argue that the Sudanese army and the RSF fighting is all the battles back and forth are just memory fights over who just did the last atrocity. So the important thing though is that on the one hand, the primary point of my argument was we had a better chance at limiting the damage to the Palestinian people in this situation to the absolute minimum, even though Hamas is an active warring force, elected. They're not a terrorist group in the abstract. They were elected by the people the same way the German government was elected by, the Nazis were elected by the people, as bad as they were. And as much as there were a bunch of Germans who were like, I'm not on board. If they were around, they're like, I'm totally on board, because they feared for their own lives. And yet at the same time, they would help and hinder. Some of them were saboteurs within, that kind of stuff. They're like, this is the depth of this war. It is not a ping pong match. It is not a big bully and a small child being picked on individually. These are two equal forces. And I know
the IDF and Hamas.
Yes.
No, stop that.
No.
Stop. You just literally said earlier that not one of the rockets that Hamas has shot over had any guidance. We talk about how they were made out of pipes. They're stealing pipes.
I'm talking about the IRGC linkage between Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the other terrorist factions in those areas.
All right.
Okay. Right. So we're not talking about the singular ability for them to turn UN water pipes into sugar rockets and fire them into civilian areas.
Right. But the IDF is known worldwide as the most advanced fighting force on the planet, backed by the most biggest army and the biggest military force on the planet.
Yes. And thank you for making my point for me in this particular instance, because if that's the case with the IDF and their goal is genocide, the wiping out of people, even including the people that are allegedly buried under the rubble. We have no idea who's there, but Hamas doesn't seem to need to bring these people up at all. Hamas's numbers have been revised down twice because
they've also been verified by multiple different agencies to be almost, if not more accurate than any of the numbers we're seeing by Israel coming out. I mean, they put out far more statistics and information about the people that they're listing. Well, that's what I'm saying, but we can't. It's hard for us to get independent confirmation when Israel doesn't allow independent journalists to get in there and independently confirm this shit.
You think but you think Hamas?
So doesn't it benefit Israel to do that so they can keep pointing to the facts, saying that all these newspapers are reporting the Gaza Health Ministry? You can't believe it. It's the Gaza Health Ministry. All right, then let some more motherfuckers in there to report it, and we can get some fucking real reporting done. You know what I mean?
But agreed. But it is an active war zone. The other thing too is Hamas is like
an active war zone that have seen more journalists killed than mostly any other conflict that I've ever known in my life.
Okay. Are you under the impression that they were all killed by Israeli fire?
No. I'm just saying it just goes to show as the indiscriminate nature of the fight. Right now, there are far more people being killed by Israel and the IDF. Right? It's just the same that I called out October 7th, how horrendous that attack was, how fucking heinous that attack was, how nobody would fucking ever support anything like that. So what happened since then is more, to me, something that needs to be called out even more so, even louder, even more to the point. That's why I'm not afraid to call it a genocide, because many people, like I said, smarter than me, with a more educated stance than me, with far more years studying this, have called it that with no guilt, with no hesitation whatsoever to say, yes, that's what it is.
Right. I understand. And I am by no means not calling it a genocide out of fear. I am not calling it out of a genocide.
Well, you said Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. You said that on your show. You said to somebody, I would. What is the war crime?
Well, specifically, I would argue that in both the West Bank and in Gaza, he has manipulated the circumstance to create unnecessary battles where there need not be. I think he's manipulated the hostage situation.
But there are very specific war crimes per the Geneva Convention, per humanitarian law, per international law, per the rules of war. I mean, there are very specific war crimes. If he's a war criminal, what is the crime?
You're asking me this. I think he is manipulating the ceasefire situations for maximum casualty as far as Hamas. I think he is using that circumstance to go after those guys, and he would be more indiscriminate in this. The point I'm trying to make in terms of the like Hamas and Gaza and them ruling the Palestinians is that I believe there is that the goal of whatever the Knesset and fucking Netanyahu wants. The growing goal is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, and the ability to do that under with Harris or Biden in office would have been impossible. And now it's possible because of Donald Trump. And the choice to not recognize that the goal was ethnic cleansing the whole time, to move everybody out and make them someone else's problem, rather than do something that's untenable, like bomb them all to death, 2 million people, which they could, like you said, they could never get away with. They've decided that they would have never gotten away with the ethnic cleansing either, except with Trump's help.
And believe me, I'm with you on that. And I believe me, I am just as frustrated with the Arabs for Trump clan. I am just as disappointed in the people that did not protest to Donald Trump, or as loudly or at all to Donald Trump as they did for the Democrats, right? Or as they did for outside of Kamala's rallies or wherever Biden went. I think that should have been spread even harder, if not at least the same, towards Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, who had been actively calling for what we both know is the ethnic cleansing of the area to build a fucking casino, right? So sure. I'm with you on that one. I don't want to have anybody be led to the idea that this is a contentious conversation between people that are arguing or a debate or anything like that. I feel it is a conversation between friends. At least I know I'm an acquaintance on here. I've had the pleasure of meeting you a few times, so I would like to be able to call myself a friend. So I just figured, Absolutely. Since I couldn't hop in the chat yesterday and get my points across, which I apologize. Yeah. I hate typing one thing into the chat, and then I heard the chat kind of take it somewhere where I didn't have it going. which I think led to this whole thing. But I'm not afraid to have the conversations. I love having these conversations. I think I learn a lot from it. Not only that, but it's always a good chance to talk to you. But I just kind of wanted to throw this up on screen. There was a few things that I wanted to point out. Scholars have estimated 80% of Palestinians killed as civilians. Verified fatalities. What's that?
Again, 50,000 killed, 80% civilians. And the idea that like all of them, I mean, you and I saw the fucking sausage fest that was when they were rushing one of the Hamas leaders into that underground hospital tunnel, and he gets to come in, but everybody else is fucking carried on fucking racks on their way to the hospital in the first place. But the idea that they will this 80
but even Israel's numbers that they give themselves, they don't even give themselves credit for killing a substantial portion of the Hamas members said existed when this whole thing started. Never mind add on the people that have been recruited since or have been radicalized since due to their mothers, their little brothers or sisters being bombed right in front of their eyes. Now that just breeds more hatred. That just breeds, which goes to the idea. The Francesca Albanese from the UN does a great report on it. Talks about the history of this, and it gives some great insight into the taking of land, retaking of land, giving back land. The resettlement of people taking their homes, saying that now all of a sudden this is my home type thing. I mean, this is years and years. We could go back, and it's a very nuanced conversation. Whether it's you going back to 1948. Or anything that's happened since. It's very nuanced.
Right. It is very nuanced, and it's very difficult to break down. And I would argue that by using the same argument about illegal settlements, which I'm against, and I think it was great that the Biden administration were sanctioning settlers in the West Bank specifically, and it's a good idea. On the same argument, though, the entirety of the West Bank and the entirety of Gaza, since they are based on land that was taken after Israel's land borders were declared, and by Egypt invading and Jordan invading, because the West Bank, as we know it, was Transjordan, if you'll recall, and Gaza was Egyptian land for a period of time before it was turned into, quote, Palestinian land in the aftermath of that. You could argue from and Israel has been very careful about this. You could argue that the West Bank and Gaza are both illegal settlements of Egyptian Arabs and Jordanian Arabs that tried to take land when all of the surrounding countries declared war on Israel once it was created, right?
I mean, just some of, like I said, the criticisms, the right criticisms. I'm not a genocide Joe believer. I just think there are ways that he could have done far more, talked about it in a far more detailed sense of exactly what was going on and Benjamin Netanyahu's definite intentions, which we knew per the story you said earlier and the reporting that we had of him, swearing and yelling at Netanyahu, right? I mean, that should have been the time where he came out and told the American public, listen, I'm going to do everything. And I know this is years, decades of U.S. policy backed by Congress, backed by stuff that has already been appropriated, right? I'm not saying that Biden had the ability to cut off everything, nor would I want him to, right? I still think that Israel should absolutely have the right to defend itself. I don't see that as being an issue. I don't think any country having the right to defend itself as being an issue. I really don't. But I mean, it's a little worrying that it's a little frustrating. I think that, all this talk of Joe being so tough with Netanyahu, and now we're getting reports not only from inside Biden's cabinet, but also from Israeli officials talking about how they never ever even pushed for a ceasefire, and that Israel kind of, walked all over Biden in this sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Grain of salt as well. I don't know how we buy it, like the storyline from those folks when we don't buy it about Hamas or Gaza.
Well, that's why I said it's also coming from Biden officials, anonymous people in Biden's cabinet supposedly have come out and said that they never.
Yeah, those are people.
Well, I'm not saying believe Israel. I'm also saying that it's come out from both sides.
We had people in the Biden administration who were fighting for a ceasefire within weeks of the actual response by Israel after October 7th. like immediately. People stepped down. Remember, people were like anonymously quitting and then quitting outright because they called it a genocide or whatever, because they supported. And in many cases, you could argue that these people never supported a two-state solution or the existence of Israel, that they viewed, the Zionist idea of Israel's existence as bad. And that's why they kind of align themselves with left-leaning or Democratic-leaning politics, because they thought that was more on the side of that over the years, where the right wing was always supportive of the existence of Israel. Mm-hmm. So they never were in it for what Biden and Harris would be about, in a balanced response to it that still engaged and again, this is why I went through all the details that I did, and why I thought it was important to understand what words mean. Because when Biden says he's a Zionist, for example, what he meant was Israel has a right to exist.
Right. But that's not how that word is being used, not only by people talking about the conversation, but not about people calling themselves Zionist, especially in Israel at this time. The people that are calling themselves Zionist, that word, I'd say, just like genocide, has been abused and adopted for other uses at this point, right? So when somebody comes out and calls himself a Zionist now, it means something different than it did, say, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Well, 10, 15 years ago would be around the time when Hamas declared, that their stated goal was the end of Israel, the destruction of Israel, and the killing of all Jews.
But the issue of Zionism, I say, or at least my involvement is in it. Maybe I'm missing the beat on it, and it was, just as big a problem back then. But I would argue that now, with the prevalence of this war, haven't it been spread all over the world, and hearing from every Israeli official talking about it, that's, you know what I mean?
So I think there's a mishmash of that, because you're not going to stop calling yourself a Zionist if you were an original Zionist. This goes to like liberal versus classical liberal, or that language that we've heard about, progressive versus liberal, and that idea, where you're not going to stop calling yourself a liberal if you believe in those things, even if somebody else has bastardized the word liberal.
Right. But where he was seen as weak on Israel and calling himself a Zionist, especially at a time where most people in this country, or I don't know about most, but a lot of people in this country do feel like there's an active genocide being perpetrated on the Palestinian people. That's how people put the two together. It's not just the fact that he's calling himself a Zionist. It's the fact that people also feel like he was weak, and I believe rightfully so, on the Israel issue. And that's how they relate the two. Now he's calling himself a Zionist as he's kind of playing patty cake with Netanyahu, as Netanyahu's bombing kids and women at will. You know what I mean? I think that's the connection that is being made by people, as opposed to just the singular, I'm a Zionist. You know what I mean?
I understood. I see. Okay. So on the one hand, we'll start with politics are the art of the possible. And that in a lot of these situations, there is no upside that everybody thinks is a simple solution, which is exactly what led to the election of Donald Trump, on the premise that in one phone call, he could end the Russia-Ukraine war. There are a lot of people who are like, Biden's weak on this and he's let it drag on long enough, and it's a waste of our treasure, and we're all in debt, and this isn't our war, and all this kind of shit. And if he'd just been a little harder on it and just let them nuke each other or something, would have ended this quicker, because they become like fucking Tinder impatient. They're just swiping left and right on news stories instead of paying deep attention to it. So the idea that you could end it by calling a ceasefire when there's 145 plus hostages, 1,700 dead, many of them women, children, babies, killed in a horrific way, including, I might add, what was the guy's name? Is it Hassam Shabbat, the Israeli guy who was killed with his wife and kids in the actual October 7th, amongst the other? I mean, I don't know if you've ever looked at the list of the journalists that have been killed that they keep, but a good portion of them were killed on October 7th. We always track it from October 7th to like the deaths of journalists started after Israel, started their attack. But if you start on October 7th, that's the full number that everybody uses. And there were several of them that were killed on that day.
This says the killing of journalists in the Gaza war, overwhelmingly Palestinian, along with the other acts of violence against journalists, marks the deadliest
Israel
for journalists in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict since 1992 and the deadliest conflict for journalists in the 21st century. As of September 2024, the Committee to Protect Journalists counted 116 journalists who were killed. 111 of them were Palestinian, 2 Israelis, and 3 Lebanese.
Okay, so you're counting the
one and one Syrian.
Right. So I'll give you a good example. Let me bring up one particular example of those. So these are let's see, where was his name? I'll find it. Reporters. Ismaili Abu Omar. He was the Al Jazeera journalist that got killed. He was a deputy Hamas guy. He fed information out, and Al Jazeera used him as a reporter in the Palestinian territories for a long time. But he was actually in Hamas also, and then once the war broke out, picked up arms and was killed in that process. Technically, that's the death of a journalist in Palestine by Israel, but he was a Hamas member. That, for example, like, okay, so the Mohammed Washa, same situation, Northern Gaza. He worked with Al Jazeera, but he was a commander in their anti-tank unit. He built weapons and he engaged in firing weapons. He was killed in direct fire between them.
I'm not saying there's not other cases, but I mean, it's hard to argue when the International Federal Journalist counts 166 dead journalists and 152 of them are Palestinian. I mean, that's right. It's pretty hard to argue.
Again, these are, let me get into this. Okay, so Yaniv Zohar was the guy I was thinking of who was killed with his wife and 2 daughters. So his whole family was wiped out in Nahal Oz in the massacre on October 7th. Roy Eden, a photographer at Ynet, who's killed at the Kfar Aza massacre. 2 editors were killed at the Reem Music Festival. Shay Regev, an entertainment news editor for Ma'ariv, was killed there. And Ayelet Amin, an editor for KAN, were killed by Palestinians. That's way more than 2. But they weren't killed in Gaza. They were killed in Israel by Hamas on October 7th. And that's where I'm talking about starting the count of journalists killed.
But it just goes along with the way this whole war has gone. Like, people were rightly outraged about, was it 1,700 on October 7th? Right? What was the number of casualties? Something around 1,700, right? And rightly so, rightly fucking so. But there was a lot of known propaganda that came out from that same incident that was disproven. That pissed a lot of people off to the point where it didn't matter if it was disproven after. And I think, like you always say, that people's empathy gets weaponized. I would say that a lot of people's empathy was weaponized on October 7th. And that gave them the ability to forgive a lot more of what Israel did since then, right? Like, if you continue to talk about babies' heads being cut off and stuff like that, it gives you the ability to forgive a lot more of what the IDF have done.
Is that Israel's fault or Hamas's fault because the attack came from them on October 7th?
That was the beginning of this conflict. Like, we can never talk about this conflict like October 7th was the beginning of it all, because it absolutely was not the beginning of it all. You know what I mean? That may have been the beginning of when people started paying attention to this conflict, but there was a lot of things happening way back that need to be brought into the conversation in order to talk about the feelings and why Hamas is, how people get radicalized by living in a situation like that. That, like, there's a lot of psychology that people in the United States will never understand, could never comprehend, as to why, you know, these situations take place, as far as, you know, religious wars, or what Republicans would call never, you know, forever wars and stuff like that. You know?
All right. So I have a question. So, assuming we agree that, depending on whatever number you believe, rapes happened on that day, that the reports that are undisputed that one of the victims was raped multiple times and was shot in the head while she was being raped, those kind of things. Okay. How do you get radicalized to get a boner in a situation like that? I almost understand indiscriminate fire, running and rushing through a city or something like that.
You're not meant to understand, though. You've never lived the lives that these people have lived. You could never possibly understand, the same way I could never possibly understand sitting here in my fucking computer chair talking to you on a $200 camera.
Okay,
you know what I mean? It's just never possible for us to be like, how could somebody put themselves in their shoes until you're living in your own shit? You know, you're being starved to death by not only Israel, but the government that fucking is supposed to feed you, right? And you're getting bombed left and right. You fucking got no legs, no arms. Your brother's got no legs, no arms. You got no home now. You've been moved 17 fucking times. You come do that to my house, that would radicalize the fuck out of me. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I think you might kill somebody, but I doubt you would rape a woman and then shoot her in the head while it was happening.
Right, but I have not done that for like it has not been a generational thing. Even if it happened to me, it has not been a generational thing that my family has been through for generations. How many family members that I've seen die, and I'm not excusing it. I'm just trying to get into the mindset, or at least let people know that it's really difficult or damn near impossible to get into the mindset to bring it in. And I understand that invokes a lot of passion, it invokes a lot of anger, and again, that's why I'm only bringing up that point to say that it went a long way to excuse Israel's behavior and their conduct and their actions in war after October 7th, right? That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Can I this is got the Gaza Strip. Hold on, let me see if I can show you this. This is the Gaza Strip before October 7th. This is Gaza. This is the area. This is the whole, this is like, and this is after, I think. Yeah, this is September. This is before, and this is after the bombing. Okay. This is after that. Let's see if they have, yeah, this is the elimination of it. I'm trying to show you the before pictures. The situation in Gaza, as far as the density of population and how people were living and all that kind of stuff, we're not talking about Sudan refugee camps that have been in place for fucking 25 years. There's no question that around the edges, especially where the guard posts are and that kind of stuff, they've had clashes and all kinds of stuff. But in the interior of Gaza for a very long time, one of the reasons the population went from 1 million to 2.4 was because that wasn't their life experience. That the radicalization that happened wasn't because of some sort of abject, indiscriminate bombing. This was the existing structure of the place up until October 7th. This is how they live.
But that still doesn't show that is that supposed to be led to believe that there was no bombs, though? I mean, clearly people were still being killed at this time.
Agreed. But the idea that this is somehow like the like what we see in the Congo, for example, where you have like battle forces coming through and cutting the breasts off mothers and throwing to them their dogs and that kind of shit.
Oh, you're right. Totally separate situation, but I don't think any less difficult or traumatizing for the people that have to go through it.
Ceasefire up till October 7th. There was an ongoing ceasefire at that time.
Right, and both accused the other side of breaking said ceasefire.
No, October 7th was the breaking of the ceasefire. Nobody says Israel on the 6th or the 5th broke the ceasefire.
Well, there was, again, rockets being launched either way.
There were rockets being fired out, but they were Israel for the most part leading up to that. Go look up to the news reports leading up to that. Average kind of occasional fire from Islamic State, because Islamic State's kind of it's running its own fucking game. So Israel's learned to bat those things away. That's why there were these accusations that Netanyahu was funding Hamas and paying them because they thought they could ultimately gentrify Hamas into the PA. That's what they did. That was their policy from PLO to the PA, and why the West Bank is not anything like Gaza as far as the violence that happens there on the regular anyways. The reason it's different is because they gentrified from PLO to PA, and the PA is seen as too soft by Hamas, and they hate them. That's the other problem of creating a two-state solution, was Hamas and the PA are at each other's throats, and Islamic State would like to fuck both of them out of existence. But the important thing I want to make is that this is what Gaza looked like before October 7th. And there was an ongoing ceasefire at the time.
That doesn't mean their lives are good, though, Hal. Show me how these people are actually living and what they actually have for resources and shit like that. And I'm not even, again, this has kind of gotten off of the topics that I kind of just wanted to have that I think I had a disagreement in. I think we're kind of getting into territory where
Sure.
we're both agreeing in different ways, type of thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that's the intent here. I just kind of wanted to have a friendly discussion on what I thought was indiscriminate.
I love you, and I think we're both on the same page. I'm trying to find the best way to talk about this that involves a solution instead of what happens.
That's the problem. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face about the solution, but the solutions don't want to be heard by either side, either leadership, right? Neither government, neither the people want to hear these situations. So, I mean, again,
what I mean is I'm sort of retroactively talking about last year during the election, that there was so much talk about this being genocide and the like, and it was laid at the feet of Biden because of this presumed weakness around this particular thing, and the ratcheting up of the emotion about this, and the indiscriminate, I would say, jettisoning of certain details to create a much more black and white situation between the Israelis and the Palestinians in terms of Gaza. Again, we forget the West Bank's full of Palestinians too, and the issue there is settlements and shootings and that kind of bullshit, and that can be handled almost in an international criminal court kind of way, but as far as like charges for murder and shit like that, as opposed to it ending up being in a situation where all this is gone. All this is gone. And the difference between the Biden-Harris administration and like leading up to the election and right after the election, all bets were off. Everybody knew it. The bombings increased. The buildings started coming down in a whole part. Like, they were still top knocking. They're still, again, the death rate hasn't gone up because they were moving people around, because they chose to do that. Whereas Hamas kept people in these hospitals, kept people in these buildings, forced them in there. If they tried to leave, they would shoot them sometimes to make sure that there were civilian casualties.
There are reports of people that have been inside those hospitals, people from outside of the country that said they saw nothing of the sort. I even pulled one up here that it interviewed at least 4 or 5 people from outside of the country, journalists that have been there, and they said, I saw no evidence of these huge underground complexes and tunnels. I saw only people being cared for.
Yeah, but Hamas will only allow them to go where they want them to go.
Well, what do you mean?
They weren't guided by the IDF in that regard.
Right, but they weren't, when they're home, they were not forced in their homes by Hamas anymore to not tell exactly what they saw. And if there's no possible way, if these complexes are so massive and so overbuilt, and they're under every building, and they're all weapons caches, and they're all being fucking secretly underneath some like command center, there would be some, you know what I mean, there'd be some evidence of these people that were inside of these complexes, inside of these buildings, inside of the hospitals. You know what I mean? It's just, again, there's propaganda on both sides of this. I there's no doubt. There's like, take everything you hear in a war with a grain of salt, obviously. And I don't want to keep you for too long.
Yes, I don't want to eat into your whole show.
No. Believe me, I could talk to you all night. I really don't fear that to be a thing. But I know you just got off your off your show. So, I mean, is this the link to the interview in the chat there?
Yes, I gave you the link to the interview in there. I just want to hold on one second.
You're the best, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And let me do this real quick. Okay, so let me show you something real quick, and then I'll let you go. Because
where am
I?
Can you see me?
Memory. Huh? Yes. Can you see me? I see you.
Yeah, I'm not on the screen for some reason in my computer. That's all right.
Oh, did you froze for a second? So it might be on your own show. I'll just take it over now. Just make me big. This is talking about let's see if this hold on, this dude, what's his name? There you go. Whoops. Hold on.
No, you're good.
You did. I thought you I was like, oh, you make me big. Great. Son of a bitch. This is, let's see here. Okay. Does that mean the annihilation? This is one of the Hamas leaders. Does that mean the annihilation of Israel? Yes, of course. This is on regular television. Okay. So these are the tunnels. Okay. This is Hamas footage of them digging the tunnels that the IDF uncovered. Okay. And you can, again, take this for what you will, but they're not. Here you go. Let's see if I can find the actual image, because there you go. This guy right here. Trying to pause this out. That's what these things look like. They're everywhere. They're all over the place. There's plenty of footage of these things. There's plenty of footage that Hamas put out on their Telegram channel. Okay.
Right, but none of which suggest this like this command center. And I'm not denying. I'm not even saying that they're not using these specific places to their advantage as far as evading Israeli rockets or anything like that. But the way that it's been put forth to us by the IDF, you would believe that there was some like unbelievable military structure under these things that are being just sat upon by civilians.
I think that's just like misspeak or cross-speak. I would argue that there's enough tunnels under there to go the length of the Manhattan subway system. That's the UN opinion. That's like the understood in our intelligence community. That's what we talked about for years. They've been digging these things out. They're these kind of things. And as they try to create them, the Israelis have tried to shut them down and blow up the openings to them when they go into Israel or when they go into Egypt. Egypt has done that kind of stuff before. They've sent things in there to blow them up. This is 2 days ago. A tunnel exploded.
Right.
A 14-year-old boy.
But still, my whole issue with it is the fact that if it's on the IDF, it's on Israel. If they know, all right, these tunnels or there's a weapons cache or some sort of command structure underneath this hospital, that does not give them the right or the ability to strike said hospital just because there's tunnels underneath that. They still have the ability. They still have the ability, and they have it's on international rules, international law, and the rules of war for them to go about this in the most humane way possible. And I think that what I'm saying is, being the most advanced military fighting force on the planet, having the best, special forces, so to speak, that there should be a better way for them to go about this entire friggin' thing from the start, where it wouldn't move 2 million people back, kill possibly 100,000 at this point. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, in this time right now, 2022 to 2025, we should be more advanced as a society than to sit here and think that, okay, this is the best way that Israel or the IDF could possibly go about this. And by their own numbers, they're failing. You know what I mean? They are failing by their own numbers. They are killing less of Hamas than Hamas is gaining in support. By Israel's own numbers. You know what I mean?
Okay, this is Yahya Sinwar. Okay, this is the leader of Hamas. This is the guy who was killed. He was killed recently. He said the Israelis have boasted we have 62 miles of tunnels in the Gaza Strip. I tell you that the tunnels we have in the Gaza Strip exceed 300 miles.
Yeah, again, of course it'd say that though, right?
But material, like he's boasting, but it's at least bigger than the Israeli number, which is fucking enormous considering the size of that area. And again, my biggest problem, one of the many problems I have, is that at no time did Hamas ever let civilians who were fleeing bombings or never mind their own bombs falling back to the ground, like the one that hit outside that hospital that they blamed Israel for a while, and was clearly a Hamas rocket that landed in that parking lot. Never did they let.
We say that, but we don't know, right? I mean, right, when it comes down to it, we don't actually know whose it was. I mean, we could speculate all we want. We can look at the pictures and say it probably looks like this, it looks like that, but again, we don't really know.
Okay, judging by the size of the bombs that Israel was dropping in that area and the specificity of them in that regard, the idea that they would drop what's equivalent of like 6 grenades, which is what some of these shorter missiles are.
They're known to have all sorts of ammunition. They have all sorts of bomb types, from small to 2,000-pound bombs. Sure. You know what I mean?
Again, if they were bombing big ones around there and one of the small ones landed there, I don't know, it didn't kill anybody. The 500 number was made up. They revised it down. Hamas just wiped that number away flat out. That was all bullshit. Point being is that this is the dude. This is the leader of Hamas. So if their claim is true, what have they destroyed? 20% of our tunnels. This is during this is like maybe a year ago. That's him. That's not Israel. That's not Israeli propaganda. This is from their shit. These are their areas. These and it's from their Telegram channel. Like, they're using clips in this show about this stuff, but like, this is where these fucking things are. And again, like, you got kids sitting up there starving to death. And where did all the fucking resources go that the UN gave and that America gave to make sure that the Gazans had clean water. Where to go? It went to making these fucking tunnels so that Yahweh Sinwar and his buddies could either live down there during a strike and survive, fuck the fucking local Palestinians, because they're really more aligned with Islamic State anyways, and we can get out to fucking Egypt and bug off to Oman and visit the leaders of Hamas who live in fucking Qatar and are billionaires at this point. Off of money, by the way, that they got reselling UN support. UN supply.
Again, none of this is to support Hamas in their endeavors, in their genocidal aspects, and in any way, shape, or form. What does? The fact that I want to call this a genocide? I mean, this is what this conversation is about. The fact that I think, and by many Human Rights Watch, by many organizations, by people smarter than I am, and I'll leave you with this because I know you're gonna go.
Howard Lutnick was a great economist, I'm sure, and he knows a lot more about tariffs than you and I do. And he's obviously gone to school.
No, he doesn't, though. That's the whole thing. He clearly doesn't, though. You know what I mean? You could say that you do all you want, but what you do and show in your work, that's what tells me if you know.
Pretty smart guys, and we can read the definition of things and make up for our own mind whether it qualifies. Is my point about these things. And I'm aware of this woman. I'm also aware of the woman that spoke against her, and the same thing.
Well, that's all right, because I was aware of Yoha Sinwar too.
Yeah, right, totally. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. So, all right, I'm going to let you go do your show, and I want to be abundantly clear. I feel like the conversation about this and the reason it's necessary is because anytime we are not 100% truthful in our definitions and consistent in our language about stuff, it makes it too easy for the malevolent actors in our society to use that against us, to undermine, well, you guys fucking think everybody's a Nazi, that kind of language, right? And I feel like that won't change how you and I feel, but it does affect the independents. It does affect the people who are low information voters, or the people that can be won over in an election, that can be won over in these situations. And that's exactly what happened. And when that happens, it's not for nothing that Trump and Netanyahu are teaming up to do things that were 40 times worse. Never mind the fact that I think this fucker's planning on going to war with Iran.
Right. I mean, I guess I would say, as somebody that has at least some sort of background in World War II, studying the Holocaust, and knowing the plight of the Jewish people during that time, it doesn't give me pleasure, right? It doesn't fill me with joy. I am not happy to say that they are perpetrating a genocide on the Palestinian people. It actually breaks my heart, and it shocks me to my core that not only that, but seeing the support from the Israeli people and how they wanted to go further, and not only the genocidal aspects of the leadership in Israel, it really does break my heart to see that the script can be flipped so easily and so completely in such a short period of time. So it brings me no joy, but I just think this was a definitional conversation that I wanted to have. And I think, by my opinion, definitionally, the aspects of a genocide, if not are all completely met, are damn near completely met. And I think, the indiscriminate bombing type thing, again, in my opinion, is a scale, not a singular thing. Again, it could go down as small as a friggin' hand grenade over a wall, not knowing who you're going to take out, or it could be, the Moab, right? Or an unguarded Moab that is just lobbed anywhere. I mean, that there's a wide range of indiscriminate bombing that I think, and no matter what the how effective it is or how far they've gone, I don't think that really, the whole how many bombs have dropped to how many dead, that to me that just doesn't define what a genocide is. That's all. I think that's kind of the main premise of the talk that we had.
In one way, I agree with you, and I'll end on this one. Sort of my kind of wrap up on this is that I believe there is a genocide that's been declared by Hamas and the Palestinian supporters of it on Jews in particular, not just Israelis. The existence of the Israeli state, it wasn't so much about it. They don't care about the land as long as it's full of Arabs. Their genocide is specifically against the Jews, and then later they'll get to whatever Arabs that aren't with them. And that, by your definition, every weapon fired out of Gaza is indiscriminate and therefore effectively tantamount to a movement towards that declared genocide on their part.
I totally agree with the fact that everything they're sending out is indiscriminate. I also know that there's a substantial difference to the effectiveness of Hamas's
You just said the
munitions.
numbers versus bombs dropped versus people don't matter. You just literally said that, my brother.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is the fact that there's 50,000 plus people over there. Just if we're going to put that argument to Hamas, which we absolutely should, and we do, then we should be 5 or 10 or 50 times as strong with our argument towards Israel, right? I mean, I don't see it how there's any other way. If we're outraged, as we rightly should be, about what happened on October 7th and what perpetrated on that day, we should be just as outraged and angry and accepting of the definitions and the titles and the war crimes that are being talked about by the UN, by different human rights organizations. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Several of whom who have refused to take a side in Sudan or try to move that anywhere.
Well, a lot of them are specific to their job is specific to a certain territory, a certain part of the world. And well, the UN Special Rapporteur, her focus is on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. She focuses on that specifically, the history of it, the plight of the people, the data of it now, and that's a lot. That's just one of the things that I'm going by. But I love you, dude. I always appreciate the conversations. Yes. I don't want you to think for a second that I'm not on the same side as you. I believe me. Like I said, we both want the two-state. Exactly. Yep. I just have a problem with the fact that none of the people that are able to make that happen seem to want to make that happen. Do you know what I mean? That's the frustrating part. And not only that. Yeah.
And I think I can't deal with MAGA and that crowd. Like you and I have no control over how full of shit they are.
Hell, you didn't see my chat. I am MAGA now, I guess, after this conversation. Yeah. I am MAGA.
Sure. Yeah. My side of it is that I worry about the people we can convince who are, who may be perhaps in theory more supportive of Israel directly than you and I even are, and are unreachable as long as that language is used because they are their empathy has been weaponized and there's no way to win them back. I don't think we need to change a mind on our side. The goal is to get to hopefully a two-state solution, and certainly a situation where there doesn't need to be a fight over these things. But that's a greater philosophical and religious aspect of these wars that is also, painful to deal with.
And I also think we have the ability to bring more people into our side if we're more direct and honest again about what is actually taking place. That's all. I feel like there's a lot of those people that we're both rightly upset about that either stayed home or did the fucking wrong thing that may have been led down the wrong path by who knows that wanted to do something.
They made a mistake. I don't think they made a mistake. I said this at the end of my show.
Not all of them by any means, but I'm saying there are people in that group that absolutely were swayed by either their friends or propaganda or other to either not go out and vote or to cast their vote for Donald Trump. And I feel like, again, like we talk about MAGA, how there's a certain percentage of those people that may still be gettable. I think we have that on that other.
Between you and I, whatever version of the story they need to hear so they can understand it. They can come to me for one side of it, or you for the other side of it, but we both have the same goal.
Right. So that's what a good sports team is. You know what I mean? That you need a fat guy, you need a tall guy, you need a fast guy. You know what I mean?
I'll be your fat guy anytime. I'll be
your fat guy anytime. You're the handsome guy that can sing in the locker room.
Locker room. I gotta close my scrapes. Jesus. All
right, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate the conversation. Absolutely. Thank you to the Sparklers that came over to join us. And we'll do it again. I love you no matter what.
You'll enjoy the ABC interview.
Jesus Christ.
Holy shit. And go check out his business leaders announcement he did today. Like, he is fucking turd polishing like you have never seen. And I don't know, do you see my PDB the peanut butter dickhead broadcast this morning?
I did not. No, I did not. My work was crazy today.
Dude, you got to watch their clip. They've given him a C- for his first 100 days.
Would they go? They went against him.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see a couple seconds of that today. Yeah. I think when they were doing the grades, I remember the grades or something.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
It's lovely. You'll enjoy it. Anyways,
All right,
have a
brother.
great show.
Thank
Love
you.
Be well.
Feel free to take all 673 people with you. I
They'll
think
stay,
they're all.
they'll
I
stay.
think they're all going. All
Awesome.
right, brother.
Okay.
Later, dude. I appreciate
Bye.
you. All right, HAL Sparks, everybody. I appreciate him. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the conversation. I hope you guys appreciate the conversation as much as I do. I think it needed to. Again, this is a conversation that Hal and I have had before, and it's just a couple points on it that I think we disagree on, and that's fine. And I just feel like it would be a good conversation to try to hash those things out once again. But I think on the broader aspect, right, of human rights, people deserving to live freely and fairly without being oppressed by either their government or other countries, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a tough conversation to have anytime that comes up. And I know that the chat was kind of struggling with it, and I know a lot of people didn't care for what I had to say, and that's fine. You guys can, that's totally all right. Totally totally your ability to do that. And I respect anybody who did disagree. That's fine. Come in and state the case and C is for regarded felony. Yeah. Yeah. No, but I do appreciate you guys hanging around. Again, I know it's a tough conversation, and it's hard not to get in depth into that. Like, it's hard not to have a conversation on just say like the genocide aspect and what I would call indiscriminate bombing. Right? It's tough to just contain it to that because again, the conversation is so nuanced. So much has happened. There's so much emotion. Right? There's so many images that evoke so much passion and anger and rage from people that it's tough to have a normal cool, calm, and collect conversation with no swearing, no name calling, right? And I feel like Hal is a great person, at least for my personality, that I can have that conversation with, and I'm happy to do it anytime. And again, anybody that was disappointed with me or not happy with my side on that, it is what it is. I'm not apologizing. I won't back down from it, and we can go. We can deal with it from there. But yeah, let me get into with the 35 minutes that I have left. Great conversation with Hal. I love having conversation with him. Let's go to the the Trump shots. Oh, I forgot to ask Hal. I feel bad. I hope I didn't offend him with my title, HAL Sparks and Trump shots. I thought it was good, but I hope it wasn't offensive. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew Hal was going to be on, and then I had a video about Trump. But once I put it out, I was like, I don't know. So if I need to change it, I will. My apologies. All right, let me go to the private chat. I'll bring this up for you guys. Share this tab instead. I'll bring this in. And listen, I know some of you may have just seen this with Hal, but it seems like it's funny enough where everybody can have a slice of the pie, so to speak. All right. So let me just bring this in. Should we just kind of cut? I'm not going to be able to do all of it, so I might as well just kind of cut to a certain point. Does anybody have like a time stamp on this where anything like really interesting happened, or should we just start it and see how much we get through? What do you guys like? And thank you guys so much for hitting the like button. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and going to patreon.com/BostonBrian and helping me out. You guys are fantastic. The sparklers are great. Whether you agree or disagree, I appreciate you coming here to check out the conversation. No, everybody just says no. Which video? The unfortunately, this one. Let me see here. Unfortunately, this one video is what I'm talking about. But come on, it's just too good. Let's just get right into it. All right, let's get right into it.
I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually.
To immigration. It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
To Elon Musk.
Did those go too
I love how they're trying to make it like a movie. What is this, a trailer? Is this a trailer to the fucking dumbest interview in the history of the world? I feel like this is a trailer where you feel like you're going to the movies to watch Star Wars, but when you get there, it's actually Spaceballs. You're just like, wait a minute. How the fuck did this happen? Where did Bob come from? I thought I was going there to see Star Wars and Luke and shit. All of a sudden, fucking. All right, let's get. I'm sorry. This is just too much already. Holy sugar. Where do they start? I don't care about the pomp and circumstance. All right, let's go. This is great.
Going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murders, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly.
Wait a minute. Did you just say 99.9%?
We're doing other things that are very significant. The results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years.
So I was just trying to fix my camera for about, I'd say maybe 45 seconds. I can almost guarantee there was about 14 pieces of bullshit that came out of his ass and his mouth in that 14 seconds. So I apologize for anything I missed, but thank God Hal was there to cover it to begin with. So I'm sure he called out whatever I just missed was. So just wanted to say that.
They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But
I have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, I would really say that the border is so important.
And we'll get there. Immigration is huge, and we're going to get there. But I want to start with the economy.
Please do.
Please
start with the economy. Yes, let's go.
Just about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So
he's not going to like this question.
How do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually. And this is what I campaigned on.
People are scared out there. People are nervous. They think the economy's going to shit. They're worried about their stocks. They're worried about their 401ks. They have no confidence whatsoever in your ability to lead this country. What do you say to the people that didn't vote for that? Well, they actually did vote for that. They actually knew I was a piece of shit who had bankrupted multiple casinos. They knew I was a diddler. They knew I fiddled around on my fucking pregnant wife. They knew I was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. They knew I bankrupted. Can't even tell you how many goddamn companies at this point. So I'm sorry, but yes, that is what they voted for. In a way, he's right.
I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before.
And believe me, if anybody knows abuse, if anybody knows how to abuse, it's Donald Trump. Usually in the sexual version, usually it's sexual abuse, specifically on E. Jean Carroll, specifically on, I don't know, any one of the little girls that was on Epstein's Lolita Express. Typically, the abuse that Donald Trump puts out is sexual in nature, whether it be verbal or, physical touching. So if we're going to listen to anybody on what abuse has been perpetrated, this guy he's the guy. He is the man for abuse.
We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade.
You don't lose $3 to $5 billion a day on trade, right? You buy more than they buy from you. We have more buying power. We typically have more people. We typically have more money per capita. So we are buying more shit from other fucking countries than they buy from us. We're not losing. We are getting shit. We get shit. We pay money. We get shit. In simple terms, right? Tell me you're not an economist without telling me you're not an economist, right? You pay for shit, you get shit. That's how trade works. That's how some may get more, some may get less. But when you buy something, you get something. So no, we weren't getting robbed, cheated, stolen from.
We were losing $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion a year.
A second.
Not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way.
Who's they? Who is they? And I'm not even saying that there aren't some of these trade deals that could be renegotiated to give us a more favorable position, right? But again, that's not the conversation we're having. The conversation we're having is we just started a trade war with the fucking planet. I mean, I'd say that's a totally different conversation than maybe, is there one or two of these things that we could tweak, maybe run some of the numbers up or down, maybe some of the percentages here or there. You know what I mean? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a fucking trade war with the planet and the penguins, all of them, all the things.
And at some point, there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous economy, tremendous success. And we did tremendous numbers of tariffs on, we took it a
You
lot
must
of
have
money
just
from
got here.
tariffs.
Apparently, the chat
China
thinks
in
I am
particular,
MAGA now.
hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. We had no inflation, as you know. We had an incredible economy.
Yeah, it's tough to have inflation when fucking, millions of people are dying. Nobody's driving vehicles. You know what I mean? No fucking gasoline consumption. It's tough to have inflation under those conditions. It really is. It's almost like he perpetrated that whole coronavirus thing so that, over 1 million people could die just so he could say that we didn't have any fucking inflation. Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anything about how Biden, had the economic recovery of this country going at a fucking, I don't even know what you call it, like a fucking, like shit through a goose, right? Sorry, I just watched Patton, if you couldn't tell. I can't stop saying that.
Given credit for a great economy, but I said we have to fix this, otherwise it's just not self-sustaining.
But one of the things you ran on was you said you'd bring prices down on day one.
Yep. So how'd that go? How's that working out for us?
And that it would happen fast, and that it would happen fast. And most economists will tell you that tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around 1% inflation.
Again, causation without court, just because one thing was true and something else happened doesn't mean that was the actual cause. You know what I mean? It's like the fact that he brags about anything economically during the period of COVID is absurd beyond words. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Inflation, which is like a perfect number. And then when
a perfect number, it's nice and round. I like the 8, but if you tip it on its side, it kind of looks like tits, right? Like if you get a real big juicy 8, I always like the number 8. If you get a nice big juicy 8 and you tip it on its side, it looks like a nice round ass to Donald Trump. I bet he loves the number 8 for some reason.
When Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say.
Yes, right. Which feels like 700 days already. 100 days, that feels like 7,000. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
100 days, we took over. We had bad inflation for 4 years, for 2 years especially 2 years of his administration. I would say record-setting, like we've.
Again, typically that's what happens, inflation, when the entire planet stops, right? When you shut down the planet, when you shut down the ports, when nobody's shipping shit, when nobody's fucking moving containers, when the boats aren't fucking leaving ports, when they're not arriving in ports, right? I think that makes it a hard situation for inflation to come. I think what happens after that, right, is the real problem, is when it starts back up, right, and everybody just expects everything to be on the fucking shelves again. That's not what happens. The companies that were once there are not there anymore. The shipping companies may have gone out of business. The ships they use were sitting there for so long, they now have to be repaired. Whatever the fuck the situation was, goods were not arriving in the same way as they were before COVID, nor will they, right? So that automatically makes it so that the goods are less, right? So if you have less goods, the price is going to be higher on those goods. Supply and demand. Really not that difficult stuff. Really not that difficult.
Never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that. Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few.
Energy is down. Like, what does he actually mean when he says energy is down? Right? Is he talking about your electricity? Is he talking about your gas? Is he talking about the oil that heats your house? What the fuck is he talking about? Energy is down. Like there's just I don't know. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. Not only that, but people like HAL, other economists have been calling for a long time and saying for a long time that the price of gas will drop because of several global factors. Saudi Arabia being one, the decreased use of gas in China due to the rise in electric vehicles, right? So there's different factors in there that are making that's making the price of oil, if that's what he's trying to say as far as energy. Is he just talking about oil? Who knows with this man? But if he's talking about oil, there are several global factors that were known before he got into office that were going to make the price of oil cheaper in the future, at least for a period of time.
Few states during the last couple of days, it was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week, eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by
everybody
Biden.
Just take
What's
a second.
The problem with eggs? And they said,
everybody just take a second, right? And we're all going to just close our eyes, and we're just going to imagine Donald Trump getting pelted with a fucking 7 dozen eggs. Can we just do that for a sec? Just picture him up on stage and having just a fucking an endless carton of eggs in your hands. And how awesome that would be. Like if he was in the fucking dunk tank at a carnival, right? With one of those things where you can run up and hit the button there. You can throw the softball at it, right? Just picture that, but just his fucking face right there where it was just like, oh, throw your egg here. Because it's not going to really, we're not doing damage here, folks. It's a carnival. Kids there. Can't do any damage. So maybe we won't hard boil the eggs. There's the least we could do. But just for a second, let's picture that. And I'm sorry, he said it. I had to picture it, and I wanted you to.
Hold on. Well, eggs are down 87% since I got involved. And by the way, there were plenty of eggs for Easter.
That was a good one.
We just went through.
There was plenty of eggs for Easter. Where did you get those eggs, by the way? Where did you get the eggs for Easter? Where did you get the eggs for the because of the egg drought that we had, right? What did you say? ABC reporter Terry Moran proves good reporters still exist. Are you saying from this interview, Darcy? Like because of this interview or because of like past work? I'm not actually familiar with Terry Moran, so I can't say one way or the other, but I know that he pisses off Donald Trump in this interview. And typically, if you piss off Donald Trump, means you're doing the right thing journalistically, right? As a journalist, if you're pissing Donald Trump off, you're doing the right thing. So I'm gonna give him his cred where cred is due on this one at least. But again, I can't speak to much of his. Yes, Darcy said, yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, anybody that kind of goes at Donald Trump, especially in this position, and gives him the tough questions that they know is going to piss him off, but asks anyway, I give you respect because that's exactly what they should be doing. That's exactly what the reporters and the journalists that are sitting in the Oval Office and all these other places that he has press conferences from, and he gives these bullshit propagandistic replies to it with no call back, no fucking pushback from the reporter. They don't say, hey, you didn't answer my question in any way, shape, or form. Right? Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Terry, don't upset Mr. Poopy Pants. Those serious questions are going to make him drop a ton. Terry, no, Trump's getting mad. Welcome to the real world outside the MAGA cult. He's real mad. Yeah, I mean, again, he's by this point, he's so used to having sycophants around him, and the sycophants around him setting up other sycophants to do the interviewing, right? That at this point, it probably catches him off guard a little bit. That this guy was allowed in there knowing that he was going to ask these questions. All right, let's keep going with this wild interview.
Plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter. My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
Okay. Tell them about the straws. Tell them about the straws, dude. Tell them about the straws. Please hit them with the straws. The important shit that you've been doing. Remember what you were talking about with Glenn Beck? Glenn Beck asking the important, tough questions. What can you think of that is most important that you've done? Well, we did the straws. We got away with paper straws. They melt in your mouth, not in your hand, like the green M&M. I like her.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down.
But
we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be.
We'll get to that. You said something a couple of weeks ago that struck me. You said concerning the tariffs, which
correct. You're absolutely right, and I apologize if that was one of the things I missed while I was fixing the camera, John. everything is not down. That's a complete lie. Again, people are already starting to put little taxes on receipts saying, hey, this is due to the tariffs, right? We're just putting this on there because we're unsure of what's going to happen in the future. We want to make sure that we can recoup our losses. And you can thank Donald Trump for this. That we're seeing that all over the place. And again, I'm thinking of getting the, my own version of the I did that with Donald Trump sticker or something like that, and selling those, and maybe we could put those everywhere. Maybe we'll just hand them out, give them out to remind everybody exactly why the prices are the way the prices are, and exactly why you can't get the shit that you once thought you could get or were able to get, or why the thing you were able to get a year or two ago is now triple, quadruple the price. So just remember who did that. Remember who did that, people.
Economists say are going to raise prices. You said, quote, hang tough. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect? Some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign.
He did say during his campaign. I remember that all the time, where he came out and he said, you guys are going to have to go through a really tough period of economic fucking pain and hurt. You're going to be unsure about your fucking future and your 401k. The stock market's going to tank. We're going to start a trade war. I remember him saying all of this in the campaigns, because we went through all of his speeches. You guys know in the chat. You guys are as well versed on Donald Trump as I am. You guys all remember him saying all that shit during the campaign, right? We could probably pull up a video.
By a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot.
Fuck yourself.
We had a tremendous campaign. I said all these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You don't have the drop in fuel, and energy, and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
But it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No. Okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes, so 145% tariffs on China. And that's good. Basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
Yeah, this is the best. I think this is fantastic. He thinks for some reason that China is going to eat all of the costs for these tariffs. They're just going to eat them all. They're not in any way, shape, or form going to pass them on to either the consumer, which is then going to, be passed down to us as people buying these goods. He thinks that China is just going to eat it all. Wild thought.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but it'll.
What? I mean, think of just any company, I don't know, in the United States, small, large, medium. Do you hear anybody in these corporations or companies going around and saying, you know what, we'll eat those charges. Just give that away. No, give that away too. We'll eat that cost. No, we'll definitely eat that cost. Just throw it on the budget. We don't care. We don't need to recoup any of this money. We're not here to make money. We're just here to fucking give out subsidies, I guess. Like corporations and CEOs are not going to eat these costs. Not happening. They will absolutely not jeopardize their stock value. They're not going to jeopardize their fucking shareholders, right? Not going to eat these costs. What are you, out of your tree?
145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other
eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're
what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop Etsy stores, small businesses that became
they
big
haven't
businesses.
Had a boom because of inflation.
Well, what they've done.
What? Well, all right, listen. What does he think the inflation rate was at, right? What does he think? Did he say he thinks he's saving us from like 37% inflation? Wasn't it like 3.4, 3.7, like hanging around there just not that long ago before he was in office, right? Like, wasn't it even maybe even lower, right? I could be wrong. Correct me in the chat on that one. But we're not up around 30, 10, 20, 15, nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that. So the fact that he thinks that people that sell shit on Etsy just couldn't make it. You know, people were just going broke everywhere and being destitute because of some fucking imaginary inflation rate that was killing these people as far as business-wise. And now he's coming in to save the day by putting 145% tariffs on everything from China. What? Does he not know how much shit comes from China in this country? Does he not actually tip the shit upside down at his restaurants and his hotels and his golf courses to see the label on the bottom to see where the shit is made? Like, I think he'd be fucking surprised. Remember that video I played on here of the kid going into the Trump, it was like a Trump shop at the bottom of Trump Hotel, and he fucking flipped over all the hats. He flipped over all his shirts. Every single one of them was made in China, fucking Vietnam, Indonesia. Not a single one of them was made in the United States. Oh, Mr. USA. This motherfucker. The funny part is he's probably putting himself out of business as far as the Trump merch as well, right? It's like, who runs the Trump merch? Do they have a problem with these Chinese tariffs? I think they might. Like, what's a MAGA hat cost right now? $700.
It was inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I mean, you read the news, you do the business.
Now
I know. I'm sorry, Tim. I'm sorry. We don't have that much more.
Built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're going to make more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an extinction
I've
event.
been here.
It's a disaster for them.
I've been here for 3 months. I've taken a trade deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get.
Do you know what he's actually done? He's actually taken our trade and flushed it down the fucking toilet, because guess what? We're already seeing less ships at the ports. We're already seeing less fucking shipping, right? We're already seeing China say, all right, fuck you then. We just won't send you the shit. Right? Right? Why are we going to send you the shit if you're going to fucking charge us up that yin yang? Right? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And hold on, let me see if I can find this. I'll play this for a second. Let me go back. I'll play this while I find this.
Deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here. We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country, between the open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses.
Okay. All right. Port of Los Angeles says shipping volume will plummet 35% next week as China tariffs start to bite. Now, I'm just thinking, did he say that in this interview? Is this a good thing? This is what we wanted, right? Like, this was the whole point of this, to make what happen. And then what else we got? There's a bunch of them too. There's a bunch of these articles. Let me see. Shipping down to U.S. Yeah, product shortages and empty store shelves. Yeah, here we go. Here's another good one for you guys. Oh, what the hell happened? Where'd it go? Okay. That didn't work the way I wanted to. I'll just put that in the screen like that. Can you see it yet? Yes, you can. All right. So, yeah, is this also good, or is what he was talking about in his little spiel here? Product shortages and empty store shelves loom with failing shipments from China. Businesses have been canceling orders from products to China after Trump imposed 145% tariffs on Chinese imports, risking product shortages for American consumers. Retailers are warning that U.S. consumers could once again be faced with empty store shelves in the kind of supply chain snarls that marked the COVID era if President Donald Trump Donald Trump's tariffs on China remain at their current levels. Companies have been canceling their shipments of goods from China and halting new orders after Trump put 145% tariffs on nearly all Chinese imports this month. As a result, the number of freight vessels scheduled to arrive at the port of Los Angeles is on track to be down 33% year over year for the week ending May 10th, according to ship tracking data. And again, this is just one port, right? This is just one port. This will be happening throughout all over the coast, all over the ports in this country. Typically, U.S. retailers would be ramping up their orders for two critical periods later this year: a fall back to school shopping season and the winter holidays. And the pullback is creating uncertainty about whether U.S. shoppers will have the selection of goods they've grown accustomed to in the coming months. Quote, "They're making their holiday buying decisions now," said Jonathan Gold, Vice President of Supply Chain and Customs Policy for the National Retail Federation. Quote, "It's a challenge for folks to figure out how to properly order and price with all the uncertainty that's on the tariffs," right? So as I was saying, like we're saying, people putting on receipts like, hey, just to let you know, this extra charge here is due to the uncertainty with the tariffs. We don't know how much this is going to cost us, so we kind of have to guess at this point, and just kind of hope that we're somewhere in the ballpark of still either breaking even or making money on this aspect. So I'm curious if that was a good, like he talks about, well, this was China exports. Let's see what the plunge. There we go. Here's another one. What the plunge in shipping traffic from China tells us about tariffs, stocks, and the economy. Just again goes on to brutalize the fact that Donald Trump has created this trade war in the hopes of all 743 million countries and all 10 trillion penguins on the planet would come to the White House to sign a deal. Right, they're all going to sign these deals that gives U.S. everything they want, the fucking minerals, the trade, whatever they want. Right, that's what was supposed to happen. When in reality, now they're just going, all right, fuck you, go fuck yourself. Really don't care, right? Really don't care. China speaking, you make up 12% of what we export. So I'm pretty sure we could make that up elsewhere if we really wanted to, right? But oh, come on, your browser has lost screen share. Does that mean you can't see it anymore? That's all right. I'll put myself big. It doesn't make it anymore. I think you guys get the... Oh, no, we still have... My bad. I totally forgot. That was my fault. We still have five more minutes to get through this nonsense, and I'm dying to do it. So let's get through as much as we can, and I will let you guys get out of here so you can have maybe some dinner, depending on where you are. Prices have already risen. Absolutely, Mr. Android. You're 100% right. 100% right. And again, it's from both, stupidity from Donald Trump and the tariffs, stupidity when it comes to how he manipulates the stock market, the uncertainty in the stock market. Brian, we got to see the second half. All right, let me see if I can skip forward a little bit. Actually, no, I'll just play it. It's not even that long. Well, it's kind of long, but all right, let's go. Fuck. You know what would help if I put it on the screen? That would probably help. Let me do that. And I'm going to do this. And then you should be able to hear it.
We've got 7 to 8.
I can't hear it. Can you hear it? Why can't I hear it? Audio, screen share audio. Could you guys hear it? I couldn't hear it. Let me try that again.
$1 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months.
Nothing, my dude. I got nothing.
Here, I mean, if you look
at what the fuck, man. All right, let me try that again then. I'm going to exit, stop screen, make myself bigger. I am going to go back to this. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go to the full interview. I'm going to do this. What is happening here? Am I not plugged in or something? Why can't I hear anything? All of a sudden? Could be an issue. Can you guys hear me? Am I still being heard at least? I think something's going on with StreamYard because it's not letting me go down on the comments either. Ooh, that sounded weird. I don't want to go down on the comments, I promise. We hear you in the clip. What? So I'm the only asshole here? Okay. Sorry about that. Loud and clear, Darcy says. Yes, Brian, we can hear you. All right, let me try that again. I don't know why. Don't understand why that would
over
do
the
that.
inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down. The energy
can't hear
prices
that
are
clip.
coming down. Gasoline's coming down. It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to
That's
immigration.
Got to be a problem, right?
Coming up.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted a
I can
staggering
hear audio coming
decline.
through. It's just not,
But
I
there
can't
are
hear the clip.
questions about your methods.
That is so weird.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Okay, let's move on to immigration. And as you said, it is an undeniable fact.
I'm glad you guys can hear it. It makes it a little tough for me to call out what the fuck's being said. That might be an issue on that front. Let me just totally get out of it. Right? I'll exit out that. I'll go to the private chat again that Hal sent me. I'll bring it up again. Oh, I can hear it now. Let me put it in. Stop that. All right, let me put it in the. Now I can hear it. My apologies. I don't know. For some reason it just kind of stopped audio on me. All right, and away we go. Oh, what it changed to? I think we were right around here.
Small businesses who are saying we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that.
No. Dickhead, douchebag, dipshit, numbnuts. He was talking about people wanting the same breaks that, I don't know, you gave the auto manufacturers the 30-day break. Or again, like the tech companies like Apple. That's what he's asking. Are the smaller companies, are the mom and pops, are the people that own their own business and work through their own business every day, are they going to be able to get those same breaks if they write to the White House, right? Are they going to be? Can they get a 30-day pause so they can get their fucking act together too, like you gave these other corporations? Or is it just the billionaires that you're looking to fucking fondle money to, right? I guess that's a fucking pretty easy question to answer.
Over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding.
How many plants have been built? What's breaking ground right now as far as, I don't know, advancements in auto manufacturing and plants being just rushed through the system right now, right? How many of these things are active? What are we talking about here? He thinks like we already have the infrastructure set up to just shut out the whole world and build everything here. We don't. I hate to break it to you. We fucking don't. We may have at one point in our history. We do not now, baby. I'll fucking tell you that. We ain't buying. We're not shutting off the world and fucking self be able to self-preserve ourselves. It's just not how it fucking works. We're too in depth into the global trading. We have global trading partners. We have for fucking years, right? We have obligations. Global trade routes have been set up, and now all of a sudden this fucking guy's coming in and throwing another wrench in all this shit after we already had the fucking world's biggest wrench we've ever been through as far as COVID, messing up shipping and trading and trade deals and all this bullshit, right? Now all of a sudden he's doing it again as Biden came in and fucking had to set this country back up. With deja vu, anybody? It's the same fucking thing. I mean, we just read the article. They're talking about the same disruptions in shipment. Looks very eerily similar to what happened during COVID, when I will remind you, nobody fucking was driving. People were locked in their homes and over 1 million people fucking died.
Flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. Our country...
An implosion. What? You think if you just stayed the fuck on the golf course and let, I don't know, say your other assholes run this thing, you're saying there would be an implosion? Is what you're telling me? The people that you hired, if you kind of stayed on the background and were on your golf courses and shit, that there would be an implosion? Doesn't sound like you have too much trust and respect for the people that you hire, but you only hire the best people. I know you only hire the best. I do. I know that.
Inflation, that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't
No
mention
words,
that.
I had the
Why
best
don't you mention
words.
that?
I
We
have
had
the-
the worst
But
inflation
there's no better
probably
word
in the
than
history of
stupid.
our country. People say 48 years, probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And
No. How about no? All right. How about just fucking wrong? I think, hold on. Yeah. I think he said it himself somewhere up here. Yeah.
Wrong.
You know what that is? That is
Wrong.
You know what the opposite of right
Wrong.
is? And that's what Donald Trump is. He's just he's making up numbers in right now. There's more numbers, fake numbers coming out of his brain and in ears than he has fucking shots coming out of that diaper he's been sitting on for the last fucking 13 minutes in this fucking interview. Right? Fucking. There you go. There you go.
people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do want to. Believe me, I don't want to keep stopping it like this. But people were dying over the inflation, or were they dying from the fucking deadly disease? You know, was it the inflation that was killing people, or was it the virus that was flowing through the fucking American people? A lot of which refused to get the vaccine to mitigate such damages, right?
Coming down, the energy prices are coming down, gasoline's coming down. It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
Coming up.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions.
It was. And you know what? It only took the entire U.S. military to stand fucking shoulder to shoulder on the entire fucking southern border to make it happen, right? Because that wall, baby, the wall was, you know what? All it needed was the entire fucking military force of the United States to stand there with their trucks and their gear to make sure nobody came in. But the wall did its purpose. The wall served it. You know what I mean?
Questions about your methods.
All right. Where are you? I don't care about this shit.
People that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came.
You mean like people that have been convicted 34 times of felonies? Like those type of people, like, I don't know, people that have been sexually, that have been adjudicated as rapists, that are sexual assaulters, that were fucking friends with Jeffrey Epstein. You mean those type of people? Are you talking about those are the type of we probably shouldn't have in this country? I agree. Ship them all the fuck out. Release the Epstein files. Let us know who's on those. We'll ship them the fuck out tomorrow. I don't give a shit who it was. I don't care if it's a Democrat, independent, fucking friend, foe, family. I don't give a fuck who it is. You're on that list. See you the fuck later. Peace out. Don't let the fucking door hit you where my fucking foot is kicking you, right? I don't give a fuck who it. I really don't. Release it. You said you would on Fox. Where is it? Pam Bondi said it was, Pam Bondi was so outraged at what she saw on her desk. Oh, Jesus Christ, President, what I saw is outrageous. What the fuck happened to it? What did fucking Marco Rubio come and fucking have a little sexual escapade and steal the fucking Epstein files while nobody was looking? Huh? What is Pete Hegseth? Did he sneak in there with a little fondling of Pam Bondi? Maybe somebody misplaced those little fucking Epstein files. Maybe, possibly. I don't know. All right, I'm done with this asshole, though. I think it's so hard. It's so hard because I know there's so much that he says that I want to call out, but I can't keep you guys here all night. I really can't. Maybe we'll pick up where we left off. Let's see here. Just remember 15:28. Remember roughly 16 minutes, and we'll see if we can pick it up on Sunday if he doesn't have an even more insane interview from now until then. But let's get into thanking some people. Let's get into thank you guys for your contributions, for your for being here, for supporting the channel, for subscribing, for your likes, for your shares, for the comments in the chat, for the emojis that you send, for the fucking memberships that you gift. There's so much that you guys do to help me, and it's absolutely incredible. And just want to make sure that you guys feel recognized. No, Desmond's coming here. You must be in here like, I don't know. That bell must be really loud on your phone because you are unbelievable at getting in here first. I've never seen anything like it. Thank you so much, Nodez. I appreciate it. You're the best. Boats G. I'm on a boat. Thank you so much for the one gifted. I appreciate that. It just reminded me of, it's like a fucking baby whale, Jay. You tell me you've seen that video. Hold on. All right. I'm gonna leave you with this one. It's gold. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's gold. And tell me this doesn't just automatically scream Boston at you. Ready? And thank you, Boats.
I don't
We
know what
appreciate
this
it. Hold on.
But Jay says it's a fucking big sea turtle. Look, it's a baby fucking whale, man. Holy shit, we are witnessing a baby fucking whale right here, dude. Holy shit. That thing is big, Jay. What is that thing? It looks hurt. I don't know. That thing looks hurt, Jay.
It looks hurt.
Jay, that thing is hurt, bro. Holy shit, look at this fucking thing. Oh my God, what the fuck is that, bro? Jay, what the fuck is that? Oh man, pull back up, Jay. Come on. Come on, bro. Pull back up, bro. We're seeing some shit we ain't never seen before, kid. Oh my God, that thing looks dead, man. We gotta call the aquarium.
Shit you've never seen before, kid.
Oh man, look at this fucking thing. Holy shit. What the fuck is that? Oh man, Jay, it's dead, bro, or something.
It's clearly moving.
My God,
It's
Jay.
clearly
Right
fucking moving.
next to that shit, Jay. Oh man, look at this fucking thing. Oh man, look at that, Jay. Holy shit. What the fuck is that, kid? You want to try to pull it in? Let's hook it.
Let's hook it. Oh, fuck me. That is fucking fan-fucking-tastic. One of the best. One of the best right there ever to hit the internet. It's a sunfish. It's a fucking sunfish, dude. Holy shit. This is what it is. It's a fucking sunfish. They're known around here. We have them. The fact that Jay and his buddy have never seen one and he thinks it was a sea turtle and a baby whale at the same time is fucking priceless. It's a sunfish. It's what they do. They come up and I think he's getting a little sun, right? They kind of warm up through the sun. I could be wrong on that one, but they're known to be seen near the surface. So sorry, I got sidetracked with that one, but fucking Boats, gee, thank you, dude. Thank you. I needed that laugh. I needed that laugh. All right. Thank you so much. Carol, appreciate you for becoming a member. Bicycle Mike, I hope you're well, my brother. I've been thinking about you. Wishing you the best. Yvonne, thank you so much for the 10 gifted. What a fucking saint you are. I appreciate you guys. Let's see here. Aaron, been here for 7 months. Give it up for Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. And look at your little pup. Looks like Lassie. Looks like you got a Lassie dog. And I like it. And I appreciate you. Thank you, Carol, for the 1 gifted. Thank you so much, Bridget. What's up, Boston Brian Housebox? Would ever someone like John Fugelsang or Michael Cohen on your show, Boston Brian? Both people I would absolutely speak to. As far as whether or not they would come on the show, I kind of highly doubt it. John seems to have a ton going on, and Michael is the same, and is busy with Midas Touch and all that. And again, I'll reach out, and I would maybe I can connect through HAL or something like that, because I did enjoy my conversation with Bob Seska. If anybody hasn't checked that out, you can check over to the Bob Seska's Patreon. We had a good conversation last week. Hoping to do it again because it seemed to be well received, let's just say. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to speak to anybody, Bridget. I mean, I hope, like I said, if today kind of proved it, I don't mind having the tough conversations with people that I care about and people that I respect in this space. I have no problem with it. I'm not the most educated person. I'm not right on everything. I will be wrong a lot. So there's a lot that I can learn from these conversations. So I don't go into them thinking that, that I know everything. Again, there were specific points that I wanted to talk about today. Again, that conversation tends to broaden out whenever it happens. And I try my best not to have that, because I do believe that Hal and I are on in agreement with, let's say 90 to 95% of what's happening, I'd say in the world, to tell you the truth. Let's see here. Jenny Faye, thank you so much. Seeing my 2 favorite streamers on screen at once is the best cure for breaking me out of funk. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for making my world a better place. Hugs and love to you both, the mods, and all the sparkling lobsters. Well, Jenny Faye, you are absolutely fantastic. It's a real honor that anybody would choose to watch this show to pass time, or to get out of a funk, or to take your mind off things. If this is that show for you, then that's I want you to know how much it means to me that you guys continue to return, and that I could be a voice of either some reason or some fun or some laughter or maybe a different side of a conversation or a different opinion that you're used to hearing. Again, you may agree with it, you may disagree with it, and I don't I don't fault you or have any negative connotations or feelings to anybody that disagreed with the conversation or my points in the conversation today. You are more than able to come in here and express your feelings, whether they be negative to what I'm saying or positive to what I'm saying. And as long as you do it respectfully and you don't go after anybody, you're not bigotry, there's no bigotry or racism, then you are free to come in here and disagree with me as much as you want. So, Luis, thank you so much for being here for 13 months. Love when Boston, Brian, and HAL Sparks talk. It's not an argument; it's a conversation. I think that's, again, one of the strong suits, I think, with HAL and I, and when we talk, and just our personalities and the relationship in general, is that we can, I feel like, and I've said it before on his show, I feel like I could talk with him about pretty much any subject, and we could have a kind, decent, informative, maybe mind-changing conversation, and I respect him a lot for it, and I appreciate him taking the time out to come on the show and hash out his opinion and his side, and I think he was absolutely right on a lot of stuff, and I totally agree with a lot of stuff, and again, I feel like I made my points on what I disagreed with as best I could, to my ability. So at least respect me, or I think you at least should respect the attempt that I made. Again, I'm not, I didn't go through 10 years of schooling. I am not a political strategist. I'm not fucking, I didn't write The Art of War. You know what I mean? I'm just a guy giving my opinions on the facts or, the situations that I've made aware of, right? It's impossible to be aware of all situations. So obviously there's shit that I'm going to hear that I didn't hear of that will maybe have an effect on my opinions in the way I think about things. So I am not a stone. I am not a rock that will never change, never budge. I like learning. I'm here to learn with you guys. I say it all the time. I am not teaching you. I am here to learn these things with you. And that's kind of the feeling that I hope you guys get. So Blue Moon, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I love this group. Y'all keep me sane. Just it warms my heart to hear shit like that. It really does. So Stephanie, thank you so much. And is that a little fur baby too in your picture? Honestly, I can't tell what that is. That could be a scarf. It could be a fur coat. I don't see a face. Is that a seashell? Is that a starfish? Is that a dog on its back? Or is it a cat? I'm not sure, Steph. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate you. What up, Slags? What up, my dude? Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. Love you, Brian and Hal. Love to Mel and Dungaree Dog Logan. Love to all the Bryantologists. Right back at you. Let me get you with the little... let me hit you with a little bit of the lobster.
They've been conserved since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters first manifested themselves on the planet.
No, there weren't trees on the planet when they first manifested themselves. My name is. They've been conserved. I'm Jordan Peterson, and I wear fucked up suits, and I cry every time I'm on camera because everything is so emotional here, eh?
What an asshole he is, right? But little shout out to the lobster community. You guys were here before trees, apparently. Just don't smoke
since the time of lobsters, right? There weren't trees around when lobsters.
All right, Slacks, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for your continued contributions, your continued viewership, the kind and decent manner in which you approach the chat, the how nice you are to not only myself but Mel, Hal, Logan, the whole crew. So I appreciate you very much, Slacks. Keep them coming, buddy. I appreciate you. Let's see, a passionate debate, conversation, and no name calling. Lovely concept. Like I said, I don't think there was any risk of it getting like that or out of control, or I get emotional. I hand up again. I feel like I have no problem putting my hand up. I probably put it up too much, but hand up, I get emotional, right? Sometimes I may get a little handsy or raise my voice a little bit, but it's never in anger. It's never an aggression towards Hal, especially, or anybody that I'm really talking about or have talked to up to this point. It's they're emotional topics. They're in-depth topics. They're nuanced topics with a lot of that invoke a lot of feelings for a lot of people. So it's only to be expected that there's going to be some disagreement in the chat. There's going to be some disagreement between Hal and I, and as long as you keep it civil and respectful, you don't talk over each other and yell and scream and stuff like that. I feel like it's a productive conversation either way. Somebody in that chat will have taken something out of the conversation that we had, and if only one person takes something out of that conversation that they didn't know going into the conversation, I'm happy that we had the conversation, and that's just how I feel. But Candy, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you noticing, and I appreciate you calling out the fact that there are still debates and conversations that can be had without, even passionate ones without it going off the rails, right? Lisa, thank you so much. Second best show ever. Hal is number one. Jesus. I can't play that. All right, I'll give him one of these. I'll give him this. Number two. Number two. I'll take second place. I'll take second. Hal works very hard. He is very knowledgeable on a lot of these different subjects. If I can be in the same conversation or even the same lane or whatever you want to fucking call it as Hal, somebody who I have a lot of respect for, then I am very happy. I feel like I'm doing something right at least. So I appreciate you, Lisa, so much. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to all the sparklers and again to Hal for taking the time out tonight. So I appreciate it. Cool Breeze, my two favorite guys. I really do. I appreciate you guys, man. Wow, incredible team here. I love you. Right back at you. Susie, thank you so much. Monica for the 10. Good conversation. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Brian, I love you, brother, but I must correct you. Cache is pronounced cash. It sounds better with the weapons cache, right? I like a little, but thank you. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Maybe it's the Boston accent that gets me. Maybe I turned Canadian for a second and I put the A on. It's a cash, right? Maybe that's just, I don't know. Anyway, right back at you with another one, Slacks. Why are they not outside Mar-a-Lago now? That great question. And again, there's a lot of points that I feel like I had to make that I don't think I quite made when I first got into it. I always get overexcited, but I think I made them during the show when I said I'm with Hal on all the protesters that were surrounding Democrats left and right, but had nothing to say to Republicans or Donald Trump. Right, I'm in full agreement of that. The Arabs for Trump that have changed their name and changed their whole game. Not fucking cool with that. Anybody that thought not voting for Kamala Harris, anybody thought that voting for Donald Trump was going to be a better situation for Gaza or Ukraine, you got fucking duped. You got played. So there's a lot that we are on the same page about. And again, just a few different things that I feel like would, I don't know, help the conversation forward so we can kind of stop maybe discussing it like that. Because when you have so many people calling it and studying it and taking the facts into account and looking at the definitional use of the word genocide and calling it rightly so, in my opinion, a genocide, I don't think it does us any good to try to fight that fact, right? I don't think it puts us in a good position or makes us look good in any light to say, well, maybe it's not, right? That's my position where I'm like, okay, these, I'm seeing it with my own eyes, right? These reports are in depth. This is what this lady does for fucking her duty, her job is to study these things and take the facts into account. And this is the report that she gives us, right? So that's, one of many, again, different human rights organizations and stuff like that have said it. So, oh, Jen, come on. What the fuck? That must be the shortest sent super chat in history. Thank you so much. Red super chat for Brian the Maggot. Yeah. Apparently I am, I'm going to have to get a red hat. Apparently the chat thinks I went, or at least somebody in the chat thinks I went full MAGA during this conversation. But Jen, thank you so much for bailing me out. I think I only need like 7 more of those to get a MAGA hat at this point because of tariffs. Right. I think I'll have to put that in the piggy bank and fucking for the next 12 of them I get, I'll save up for maybe 1 hat. But thank you so much. And thank you guys for for everything you've done with the system and coming down here and helping. I really do appreciate it. I can't honestly thank you guys enough. And sorry that I've gone long. All right. Thank you so much. Let's see who's next. JD, you're both wrong. Facts. I have no notes. At any point, JD, you could say that. At least about me. At least about me. So don't worry about it, my man. I appreciate you, dude. Terry, don't upset Mr. Poopy Pants. I like this one. I like this one, Yvonne. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Welcome Trump to the real world, outside to the MAGA cult. He real mad. Like, he doesn't like being challenged by even the littlest measure anymore will set him off. So thank you so much, Yvonne. Great show, Brian. Thank you, Petrazi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate it. Jim the Geek, perfect interview would have ended with a little dinky walking out like he did in the 60 Minutes one. Jim, remember that? Where he's like, yeah, I think that's been enough time. I think that's been enough, where he got mad at, what was Leslie, what's her name? That was the same one that Kayleigh McEnany, I think, brought in the big book. Was that the same one? Or was that a different one? Fuck, they all run together now. Fucking crazy. Is that the same one? Good night, Vicky. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good night. Is that the same one where Kayleigh McEnany brought in the Leslie Stahl? Thank you. And is that the same one where Kayleigh brought in the stack of fucking empty papers that like it was his healthcare plan? I think it was either that. It was might have been a different one. Like I said, they all run together at this point. Fucking 10 years of this nonsense, 10 years of this bullshit, and I have covered more of Donald Trump than I will put that on fucking anything that I have seen and watched more of this asshole in the last 10 years than anybody. Yeah, I know. I kind of want to save that, right? I'll save that, Tiff. I'll save that one. Because I feel bad. I don't have enough time to react to it anyway. And believe me, I know the clip you're talking about. I do. So let me see if I can. We'll see if we can save that. And again, that's only if he doesn't do a more insane interview in the meantime. So I do appreciate you, and you're 100% right that I did want to get to that. I just Hal and I took we talked for longer. That's it. The conversation went a little longer. That's all. All right. So who was I at? Petrazi, Jim the Geek. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Mr. Android, thanks for tonight. More than you might understand. Trying hard not to be angry with anybody but fools. You have to treat animals firmly. Well, I mean, again, it's tough because we're in the position where, again, you don't want to become an animal fighting an animal, right? So it's kind of like we are so angry and we're so passionate and aggressive and we want something to be done, but we have to be careful not to turn into or act like or throw away human rights like the people that we are going against, right? That is something that we must uphold ourselves. We can only control ourselves. We cannot turn into a monster to defeat the monster. You know what I mean? And believe me, it's tough. Again, to throw young men and women into war and have them as the objective go to kill the enemy. And it's going to be very difficult for them to not start to act like the enemy, right? I mean, it's almost human nature. But we have to be careful that we don't slip into the same attitude, I'll say. You know what I mean? But thank you so much. I do appreciate the Ray Bork, Mr. Android. Is that Wes? He's the only person that sent 777, so it's got to be. Maybe I'm wrong. William Henry Harrison had a better first 100 days, and for 70 of them, he was dead. Hold on. I got something for that. That was a good one. I got that. All right, Jamie. You got it, brother. The old round of applause for Dame Dog. Let's go, dude. I appreciate you, man. That's good. Sorry, you got me with that one. Mama Brooke. Thank you so much, Mama. Gifted 5 memberships. We appreciate you. And anybody that receives a gifted membership from not only Brooke, but anybody else that is so kind enough to donate membership so that you guys can be a channel member. You can become a channel member just below me for $2.99. You can also check Patreon. It's $5. If you want to help the channel out like that, it is a fantastic way to do it. And it's only because of you guys and people in the chat, the fantastic people like Jen and Eric and and Brooke and everybody else that helps, Dane Dog and everybody that helps in any way, shape, or form. It's only because of you guys that not only do I keep getting to do this, but we also have some big announcements coming up. So stay tuned for those. Make sure you're around for those. And again, it's all because of you guys. It really is. It's literally all because of you guys. And I could not thank you enough or express my gratitude enough for making these things happen that are happening. So not giving anything away now. Come on. I got to keep that attention span, that retention rate up there. You know what I mean? I can't be giving away all the secrets in the show. But Ricky, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nordez, thank you so much again. Buttercup baby, thank you. This is a Persian, please, cat. Oh, that's awesome. And to round it out, Peter, dude, thank you so much, guys. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I really wouldn't honestly be here without you. I wouldn't be anywhere near this position. I wouldn't have anywhere near the ability to reach out and hopefully change some minds if it wasn't for all you guys hitting the like button. People like Peter who come in and make fantastically generous donations to make sure that this channel stays up and stays running. No, don't worry, JD. All good, dude. All good, my man. If there's anybody that can take a joke, it's me. So don't worry about it. Take your shots. Like I said, my dad taught me if you can't dish them, if you can't take it, don't dish it, right? So, but yeah, I'll let you guys go. I will see you Sunday at 1:00. Hit that like on the way out, right? Hit the alarm bell for Sunday. That way, when I go live, that way you don't have to remember. Yeah, love to all the lobsters, the Bryantologist, all the sparklers. Thank you guys so much. The Midas Mighty, anybody that's in the chat from you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Give yourself a round. All right, guys, I will see you. Oh, Jesus, here we go. Fucking, the anxiety I get just from trying to hit this ending is outrageous. It's fucking outrageous. It really is. You would think I was, who knows? You don't know. All right, I'm gonna go now. Take it easy. I appreciate you guys. Stay aggressive. Keep your head in a swivel, right? And stay in the fight. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you. Peace out. Is there a way for you to show me how to do it so you don't have to sit here any longer? I feel completely like an asshole that you guys are sitting here like this. Back. Fucking thing.